Today I'm creating a giant player in MLB The Show 24, and my goal is to make the majors and road to the show, and to play through all of what is hopefully a Hall of Fame career. Daddy Longlegs is returning to this channel at 6'10", 180 pounds, and as you would expect, he's absolutely terrifying. As a projected 20th round pick at the Combine, I'm gonna need to prove myself, and I don't have a lot of power, but I'm already going deep to left field for a big home run. To make this interesting, I'm playing on the contact archetype, so I have no power or speed, and I'm trying to get a hold of more pitches, but it's not a good look that I'm popping up during batting practice. I might be the slowest outfielder of all time, so I'm gonna need to impress with my arm, and I have a button combination that I'm gonna nail, as this throw's coming in very slow, but I'm able to get the runner out. My arm is supposed to be a weakness, but apparently it's not as bad as I thought, because I've gotten all of these runners out so far. That was not a very impressive showing, but I'm up to round 17. The draft combine game is the best chance I have to prove myself, but so far I have not gotten on base, and I'm very disappointed because I'm an absolute freak show, but we're not scaring anybody right now. Surprisingly, this game went to extra innings, so I have a chance for a multi-hit game, and I hit this one well into the outfield, but it's definitely not going to be deep enough. We have to play better in game number 2 if we want to climb the draft boards, and this is not a good start as we're underneath it. I have a chance to make my mark with 2 on in the 9th inning, and this one's going to sneak through the infield as my only hit of the game gives us a walk-off win. Hopefully that gives me momentum to increase my draft stock, and this one is absolutely smoked into left field for a sure extra base hit that's going to score 2 runs. My massive strike zone is going to make it very difficult to draw walks, but we don't need to draw walks when they're leaving meatballs right down the middle. That is my second double of the game. This is definitely the performance I've been waiting for, as I reached base 3 times in a big win, and now I'm a projected 10th round pick. I'm excited to go to any team that wants to take a chance on me, and on draft day, that team's gonna be the Cincinnati Reds. I'm definitely excited to be on this team because there is a lot of position player talent, but not a lot at right field, but no matter what, it's gonna be a long road to the top. This is my first game of Double-A with the Chattanooga Lookouts, and I hit this one right to third base, but that's an error, and I'm gonna reach base. I would love to record my first official hit in this game, but I lined this one straight at the left fielder. That is very unfortunate, and the same thing is gonna happen on the very next at-bat, but at least I'm hitting with power. Now I'm absolutely terrified because I'm playing in the field, and there's no way I'm gonna be able to get to that one. It's gonna bounce over my head. Please don't be an inside the park home run. It looks like the runner is gonna hold at third base. I was not able to get a hit in my debut, but on the bright side, that should change soon because I've been making very good contact. Can I get this throw to second base? I'm pressing the buttons, and I don't think I have the arm to make that throw. We are once again trailing in the 4th inning as I turned on this one into left field where it's gonna be caught. I'm a little surprised that one didn't drop because it looked like good contact, but right on cue, late in this game, I get my first Double-A hit. I feel like the first one is always the hardest to get, so I feel like I can relax a little bit going into this next game and just try to improve my stats as I'm in the field, and this one's hit very well to the wall. It looks like I might have a chance to rob it, and with my tall frame, I'm able to do exactly that. There are definitely some advantages to being tall, even though I'm a contact hitter with a huge strike zone. Even then, I've been really challenged in the field as I have absolutely no speed and the game is slowing down. It's one of those simulation moments. Can Daddy Longlegs make the diving play in the outfield? And he does. I'm basically just Aaron Judge if you forgot to eat protein as a kid, but I just drove in my first RBI of Double-A. I definitely needed that because it became my second hit of the season, but that would be my last one in this big win. It is not ideal to be struggling against Double-A competition, as anytime I make good contact, it goes right to somebody, and at this rate, my goal of making the majors is going to take a very long time. My batting average is under 100 right now as I made good contact the other way, but it's not gonna drop. The good thing is that my consistent contact is earning me stat boosts as I finally have my 3rd hit of the season, so there's no reason to think that this slump's gonna last forever as I have another hit and my 2nd RBI of the season. I can feel my bat starting to heat up as this one is blasted at 107 miles an hour straight to the right fielder. That one sounded very good off the bat and would have gone over the fence if I had just a bit more power, but now I'm in the field and I need to make this play as I cut off the throw, and I've completely disappeared into the bleachers, but we make the right button combination and cannot get out the runner in time. This one is all tied up in the 10th inning, and I do not like that they put me out in the field because that means that I have to make a big throw to home plate, and I've hit the right button combination. I just have to hope that it comes in on time, and it's going to. I just saved the game for Chattanooga. Despite being a freak show, I'm actually starting to make friends in the clubhouse, and even though I helped us win that game, my stat line is completely garbage. I'm still waiting on the first extra base hit of my career, and this one's going right to the outfielder, so I'm not sure when that's gonna come, but it better be soon because there's no way I'm legging out these infield singles. At least on the positive side, even though it was a very weak hit, I was able to drive in my 3rd RBI single of the season. But on defense, my lack of speed is really apparent as I do not have enough to make big plays, but I am gonna be able to throw this runner out all the way at third base. This one's all tied up in the 8th inning as I make good contact into center field where this one's not gonna be able to get down. I finally get a big break and I'm going for 3 for my first extra base hit of the video. Apparently my team team couldn't score me though, but that's no problem because I'm able to go the other way with this one to score another 2 runs and tie this one back up. We're in extra innings and I should really be out in left field with how bad my arm is, but with the game on the line, I'm gonna need to give this throw everything that I got. As the runner's coming home, the throw comes in and it is in time. That was my best game yet, and I'm looking to continue that momentum and hopefully break out, as this one shot into the gap in left center for my first double. Once again though, my team was unable to score me, so we're down 2 runs, but I'm looking to change that, sending this one deep into center field, going all the way back where it's caught at the wall. At least the good thing about all these deep flyouts is that I'm earning power upgrades for every one, and they're slowly starting to show up on the field. So with 2 extra base hits in my last 2 games, it is only a matter of time before I hit my first dinger. My improved play has helped my average get back up to 237 with an OPS of 553, and I am now the 99th ranked prospect in baseball. I have a lot of equipment for my last Road to the Show video that would make this challenge a lot easier, but since I'm trying not to cheese this video, I'm only going to be adding new equipment every once in a while, and so far I've only equipped 2 bronze perks. I think getting our player up to 85 overall right off the bat would kind of defeat the purpose of the video, and I'm very excited to keep climbing the ranks in our organization. I am very surprised that Daddy Longlegs' AA career is off to a slow start, but his recent performances are suggesting that he could break out very soon, and here's his second double of the season. Thanks to him, Chattanooga is leading 2-1 in the 5th inning, but the celebration's going to be very short-lived because they tied this game back up, as Daddy Longlegs needs to make this throw to third base, and it's not going to happen. This is our last chance because we're trailing by 1 run in the 9th inning, and this one could not drop in right field, so we blew a lead and lost to the mother shuckers. This might sound very bad, but I honestly do not care how our team performs as long as I keep improving enough to get me to AAA, and here's another double. Judging by our roster though, I'm gonna be here for quite a while since I'm 5 overall points lower than the next best outfielder. Even though I'm awful in the field and have no power, I've been very good at avoiding negative plays, and this is very good because it means that all of my stats are improving every single game as the bases are loaded, down 5-0, and I need to make this throw to home plate, which I'm going to do successfully to get the out. Our team is getting railed today, but at least I'm playing a pretty good game, as this is good contact into left field, but of course I don't have the power. Now my team needs me to come up big with 2 runners on in the 7th inning, but I did the worst possible thing, grounding into a double play, and we lost another one. Even then though, I can't complain about all these boosts, as this is also the first time my OPS has been up to 600. My only goal at AA this season is to get up to AAA, and this one's hit well into opposite field, as I really got a hold of this, and it's gonna turn into my first home run of the video. That is certainly gonna help out my stat line, as here's good contact again, but I was a little too underneath this one. Ironically, I wish that I had hit that a little bit softer so it could have dropped in the outfield, as I'm gonna try to make this throw to second base, as my arm is still so weak, but it's gonna get there in time for an out. I have not been the defensive liability that I thought I was gonna be. Can this one drop? It's going to, and I have scored another RBI. Chattanooga is riding another big game from Daddy Longlegs, as this grounder is gonna drive in his 4th run of the game. All of baseball is in big trouble if Daddy Longlegs has discovered his power, as this one's launched into the left center gap, and I think it's fair to say that he's officially on a hot streak. I'm very impressed that he's already up to 62 overall, and since he's played really well, I'm gonna reward him with his first piece of equipment, which is gonna be a bat grip. Our average is already approaching 270, so maybe we can get it to 300 before the end of the season, and it's really funny how everything has changed so quickly, because I was talking about trying to get my first extra base hit not too long ago, and for some reason they just keep testing my arm. I guess it makes sense because I have 45 arm strength, but I really can't complain about them getting too aggressive because it's improving my stats. By the way, if you're enjoying this video, please drop a like and subscribe, and also comment below if I should make this a series. I'd be interested in making a full Daddy Longlegs career video and what a double play. We're in danger of suffering our first hitless game in a while, but at least we walk, and this one's going to extra innings, so we're gonna get another chance where Daddy Longlegs hits this one up the middle to score 1 run. Unfortunately though, our team could not get a rally going, and even though we're on a hot streak right now, it really feels like we've been cooling off. I did not realize that there's a baseball team called the Biscuits, but I'm absolutely here for it, and my single in the 8th inning started a rally as we got a big win. I still want to continue to show power in my bat though, because I've been flying out deep a ton, but I really can't complain too much because I have an 11-game hitting streak that's gonna continue. We have a 3-1 lead in the 6th inning, and I finally got a good pitch to drive, digging this one out for an easy double into right center. Another 3-hit game would do wonders for my stats. This one was left over the plate, but I hit it right to center field. Our team definitely started out cold, but we're really heating up against Montgomery, and here's another double, so it's nice to see the rest of our offense improving. That one cannot get down. I've been on fire lately, but it still feels like I've been getting robbed of even more hits, and this is my last chance to lock down a multi-hit game, but it's not gonna happen. All of these one-hit games are starting to become very disappointing, and now my hit streak's in jeopardy, and even though it feels like I'm having a pretty good offensive year, I'm so bad out in the field that I'm a negative WAR player, and I just threw out a runner. Unfortunately though, with a 14-game hit streak on the line, I was not able to get get on base, and a 641 OPS is simply not good enough. I need to get some more extra base hits, and while this is only a single, it is going to drive in a run, and I can't wait until I have more power so I can do things like this, watching this one go for a no doubt home run against the Biscuits. That is such a relief after hitting so many singles, and this is a rare walk as we win the final game against Montgomery. I earned an equipment pack during that series, so I'm going to get these batting gloves, and those are going to add some much needed boost to my hitting stats. Our equipment now gives us 42 power in each stat, which is much improved, so hopefully that can help us get our slugging percentage above 391. My biggest problem is that I do not have the speed to stretch any of these singles into doubles, so that's really hurting my stats. But with a man on second in our next game, I have a huge chance to drive in a run. This one's going to stay fair down the line for an automatic double. I'm really grateful the ball bounced over the stands because that was the only way I was getting a double, and now it's a tie game in the 6th inning where I need to make this throw to third base, and here's the button combination. I'm winding up, sending it deep, and it is going to be in time. This has been a very solid game at the plate and in the field as I need to make another throw, this time to home plate, as it's coming in very slowly, but I prevent the go-ahead run. It would be very fitting if I could walk this one off, but what a great leaping play at second base. Thankfully, we were able to get the win, and I got some very nice upgrades. We're winning our division after a very rough start, and it feels like Daddy Longlegs is getting better every single game. Right now, we are the 84th best prospect in all of baseball, and honestly, that's pretty good for an 18-year-old who was just a 10th round pick, as I don't understand why this runner's testing the throw to second, but even with my weak arm, it is very in time. We're up by 2 with runners at the corners, and I'm gonna blast this one to the shortstop who's not able to make the play, so I score a run. I have 3 hits in this game, but I definitely wish that they weren't all singles, as I have to make a very tough throw to home plate, getting the button combination, winding up. This is a long one, and it is in time to get the runner out. My arm is a huge weakness, but it's gonna improve pretty fast if they keep testing me, and with the bases loaded, I'm gonna drive in an RBI single. My batting average is already almost up to 300, and I should not have swung at that one, but it doesn't matter. It's actually gonna pay off for a double. After how we started the year, I am so surprised that we're almost hitting 300, but now with the bases loaded, I need some RBIs. Can this one get down? It is not going to. Unfortunately for me, it looks like I'm gonna go hitless in this game, which is really unfortunate because I've been on a roll. I want to finally give myself a bat to help out my hitting stats, but it's not gonna be a diamond or even a gold one, but at least it will be something. As soon as my batting average gets up to 300, I'm gonna give myself a new skill set, and I know it's not the craziest milestone, but I'm just trying to make this video a little bit more interesting. If I really wanted to, I could give myself diamond and gold everything and be like 85 overall right now, but honestly, I really like the challenge of working up through double and triple A to improve my skills and get to the MLB level, and another runner is testing this throw. That was a bad decision. It's been a few games since I've gotten an extra base hit, and their first baseman goes airborne to prevent a double. I think I've only hit like 3 or 4 home runs on the season, so I definitely think I'm due for another one, but I'm definitely happy with the multi-hit game as this is my 3rd on the day, and it's gonna drive in an RBI. Lucky for me, that 3-hit performance was enough to boost my season average up to 301, and I've already gone up 6 overall to close the gap on the AAA right fielders, but going up to a silver skill set is going to get me all the way up to 69 overall. I am so close to getting called up to AAA because I'm now the best player on my AA team, and I'm launching a double into the right center gap. All of baseball is in big trouble if I'm hitting for more power, because something that started as one of my biggest weaknesses has become a strength, and speaking of weaknesses, my arm has actually been very impressive lately as I throw out another runner. I'm also in the middle of a very long home run drought right now, and this one's hit pretty well to center field, but not well enough. Aside from that double though, I have not had a lot of success at the plate recently, but I'm able to redeem myself with an RBI double into right center. I can win a dynamic challenge if I contact swing for a hit, and that's exactly what I'm gonna do on my next at-bat. This is my first multi-hit game in quite a while, but I'm looking for 3, launching another one into right center field, and that's gonna score the go-ahead run. Daddy Longlegs is the reason that they won that game, and I know he's only been in the minors for a few months, but how much more does he have to prove at AA, as this one is crushed over the fence in center field for a home run. Just like that, after this game, we're called into our manager's office, who says this is our last game on the team because we're getting called up to AAA. So far, Daddy is dominating the minors. I got a pack for completing a challenge last series, so I'm gonna get a brand new perk, and since I'm only trying to use perks that Daddy Longlegs has earned, I'm gonna happily equip Contact 3. This is my AAA debut, and I'm hitless so far, but I really got a hold of this one in a center field, but unfortunately, I'm gonna pop out. An 0 for 5 start with the bats would not be ideal, but that's exactly what's gonna happen, so I'm still waiting on my first hit at the AAA level, but it's gonna immediately come in my next game. I'm in the field with 2 outs in the bottom of the 9th, and I'm gonna need to make a big throw home with the bats up by 1 run. Here it comes, as they're really testing my arm with this one, but it is in time to win us the game. I'm very happy to make plays out in the field, but I only have 1 hit in my first 3 games, and here's another one. This is going back to the wall for my first double at AAA. Hopefully I'm able to hit for a bit more power at this level because I was very weak in AA, but just like at the beginning of the video, I am really struggling to get going. It's definitely definitely an adjustment, but I do not want to get sent back down to AA, so thankfully I get my third hit here. And I never thought I'd say this, but my fielding ability is actually keeping me up here as I just made an insane diving catch. Securing another hit here would definitely improve my confidence, and here's my first multi-hit game. At 71 overall, I am the highest rated position player on my team, and that's part of why I'm surprised that I'm not playing well so far, and that one's not gonna drop. After showing some power in double A's, I'm back to mostly hitting singles again, but at least we won, and I had another multi-hit game. It's no surprise that after my first series with the Bats, I have the lowest OPS on the team and 0 RBIs. It's also been a while since I've moved on the top prospects list, as I'm stuck at 87. After that game, I decided to add a few more silver tier equipment items, and clearly they're making a difference since I just hit a double. I have been great in the field lately, as all 6'10" of me laid out parallel to the ground for a great catch, and while that's very cool, I wish our bat was a little bit more consistent. My batting average is down to 216 after an 0 for 5 game, and just like in AA, I've been keeping the ball in play, as this one's going off the pitcher's foot, and at least I got a hit. If I want to keep impressing at AAA, I need my power to come back, and here it is as I double into the gap in right center. I wish those big plays could come with runners on base, but this is a multi-hit game, and now I have a chance to drive in some runners with 2 on, and this one's blasted all the way to the scoreboard for my first AAA home run. That was easily my best game with the Bats so far, and it's great to see that my stats are improving. I am just 4 overall away from being the best right fielder in the organization, so it's so important that I keep improving at AAA so I can get to the next level. I went the other way on my last at-bat, and this one's going to be no different, as I'm definitely pushing it, stretching this one into a double, but thankfully the throw's going to come in offline. This is already a multi-hit game for Daddy Longlegs, and I can't believe that's a strike, but even without another hit, our stats are looking much better. I'm actually surprised by this, but playing with a giant player is much more difficult than playing with a tiny player, because at least in my scrawny slugger video, I had a very small strike zone, as this throw's coming into home plate, and it's gonna be in time. I totally missed this, but there's another equipment pack for me to open, and I see some gold cleats. Those are gonna give me a very needed +8 to my speed, so my stats are looking better than ever. I'm on a huge cold streak, but maybe some new equipment is all I need to get out of it, and I can already tell that I'm hitting the ball harder, as this is a beautiful rainbow in the left center field that I'm gonna turn into a double. The first thing I'm gonna do when I get to the majors is get myself some gold and diamond equipment, but for now I guess I don't need it, because that's another multi-hit game. These cleats are giving me some much needed range in the outfield, as for once in my life, I'm able to cut this one off and prevent a double. My hitting skills are already at major league level, as I'm going the other way with this one for an RBI single, but with a runner in scoring position, I have a chance for my second RBI of the day, and I blast this one up the middle to get it done. It looks like I'm finally coming out of this cold streak as I turn on one into left field, and with my new speed, I'm gonna be able to stretch my third hit of the game into a double. Despite my great performance, we're still trailing by 1 run as I get my 4th hit of the day, but we were unable to rally to secure the victory. That was a big series that really helped out my stats, as my batting average is approaching 300 and I'm almost a 750 OPS, as the Bats are now in 3rd place in the IL West. It's very unlikely that I'll make the major leagues this season because I'm not even on the 40-man roster, but I should get my shot very soon because I'm only 3 overall points lower than the next best right fielder. I also finally unlocked the gold set of skill sets, and I'm very tempted to give one to Daddy Longlegs, but I'm gonna hold off because it's not fair for him to be 83 overall in AAA. The moment that I get to the MLB level, I am absolutely equipping that gold skill set, as we're in the first game out of the All-Star break, and my goal for the rest of the season is to improve so much that the Reds cannot pass up on giving me a spring training invite, and this deep home run to right center is absolutely gonna help. This is a new Daddy Longlegs because it's very rare for us to have 1, let alone 2 extra base hits in a game, as I just keep throwing out runners. It's only the 4th inning, so I'm wondering how good of a game we can have, and we are a triple away from the cycle. I really want that triple, but apparently we're not gonna get it because we got something even better, as we're gonna watch this one go over the fence in left field, and we got a big win. That amazing game is gonna do great things for our stats, and it definitely took a while, but after a slow start, we have absolutely found our footing at AAA. I got called into my manager's office, and I thought that I was getting the early call-up, but instead, I will definitely take these performance boosts. This performance multiplier could be exactly what we need to jump Will Benson in overall and become the major league right fielder, so I really need to take advantage of this opportunity, and I have 2 months left in the season to do it, as this is another double. We are getting absolutely smoked in this game, but I don't care because I pick up my 3rd hit of the day for a huge RBI, and I'm able to earn double to my power for another 3 games, so it's very important that I get some extra base hits as I line another double. We started out with like 35 power, but over the course of the season, we've gotten it into the high 50s, and we have 2 more games to get it even higher. I did not realize that my batting average was almost up to 340, which is ridiculous even for a short time at AAA, but after some struggles, we figured things out very fast, as getting those gold tier cleats helped us stretch some more singles into doubles. We are 73 overall at the beginning of August, so I'm curious how far we'll get before the end of the year, but we're currently on one of the biggest hot streaks of the season, as we are hitting nearly 600. These are Daddy Longleg's stats after the biggest series of the entire season, as he's also slowly climbing the top 100 list. We have not been at AAA for very long, but I already feel like there's not much else to prove as we're showing off the opposite field power for a huge grand slam. I have never been called up to the majors in my first MLB season, but there could be a chance when rosters expand because we're only 5 games away from the start of September. This is also the perfect time for my manager to be giving me a stat multiplier, and I think the game knows that I'm very close to making the majors as this one was absolutely smoked. However, that's been my only hit over the past couple days, so I have not taken advantage of the opportunity, and that one is robbed away. We've made a few diving plays in this video, but it's really not fun to be on the other side of them, but at least I extended my hit streak to 10 games, and I have a chance to get my redemption in the field by throwing out a runner at third base, which I do. I feel like I have more than proven myself at the minor league level, so if I don't get the call up to the majors, this will be the last series I play this season, as we are in a big win against the Cubs. We are already up 2-0 in our next game, and I smoke this one into center field for a single, and something tells me that I'm gonna need to make it throw to home plate here. The line drive comes in hot, as this one's gonna be very close, but it comes in, and we're able to get the out. Now we can complete a challenge if we hit a double, but why not do better with a line drive home run into left field? We've actually had more dynamic challenges lately, and these are a very good way to earn program stars, but we're unable to complete this one. That is very unfortunate because we need program stars to unlock the diamond skill sets, but Daddy Longlegs just obliterated this one for a double. We definitely cooled off for a bit after that hot streak, but it finally looks like we're getting back on it with another double. That's 2 on the game. Now the game is slowing down once again. I'm very scared, but I think I figured out how to do this all on my own. Just gotta hit the button at the right time. I have a college degree, but my full-time job is just pressing buttons at the right time. It's September, and as I anticipated, we are not getting the call up to the show, and I guess I understand why the Reds aren't rushing me to the show because they're in last place. However, it's gonna be a different story for the Bats, who have a chance to go to the postseason. I know I can't take full credit for this, but my teams have won everywhere that I've gone, and we can clinch the playoffs by finishing strong in our final series. However, we're trailing 1-0 in this game, but I'm gonna get aboard with an opposite field single, and then myself along with another run scored to give us the lead, and I'm very lucky that I was not punished for that poor swing. We're up 7-5, but here's another dynamic challenge. So I'm swinging for the fences, and that was a meatball, but I don't know what happened. We failed the challenge, but we still got the win, so we continue our pursuit of the AAA playoffs as I have to use my height to make a big play in the outfield, trying to rob this one off the wall, and of course I fail, and that's gonna be a triple. I really thought that I was in great position for that one, but I'm gonna make up for it with a 7th inning RBI. That was another big win for the Bats, as Daddy Longlegs is up to 74 overall. This was a very good 18-year-old season, especially considering that we put up these numbers in only 93 games. However, our AAA season is not over after making the playoffs, and we're in a very close game against Jackson Holiday and the Norfolk Tides as I'm launching this one into the right center gap in the 8th. That double secured us a playoff victory, so we're set to take on the Salt Lake Bees in the championship round as I need to throw out this runner, and even though I disappeared into the wall, I'm able to do exactly that. To my surprise, this game is still all tied up in the 4th inning, but my single up the middle is gonna get 2 aboard, and even though we scored a run right after that, we're in trouble because Salt Lake scored 4, and at least I'm gonna double into the gap. We got all the way to the championship, but unfortunately, our AAA run is gonna end here, and entering my 2nd season, I just have to hope that they added me to the 40-man roster, and there I am. At just 19 years old, I have earned a spring training invite from the Cincinnati Reds, but earning a spot on the team will not be easy. I'm definitely having a hard time adjusting to major league pitching, but I'm going into the right center gap, and there's no doubt that's gonna be a double. I can't believe we're facing Clayton Kershaw at 19 years old, and we actually got a hit off of him, and if I keep playing like this, I'm definitely gonna make the major league roster, and let's go. That is a home run off of Yamamoto deep to center field. These are our numbers about halfway through spring training as we put together a very nice stat line, and we're opening our next game with another dynamic challenge. All we need to do is advance a runner to earn an equipment pack, but unfortunately it's not gonna happen, so we're gonna start this game 0 for 2, but this one's turned on. That has a chance going out to left field, and it is gone for a home run. I really don't know what else I have to do to stay on this major league roster as I dug out this home run for a deep shot to left field. Just for spring training, I've decided to switch to the silver power archetype to give me more pop in my bat, and maybe I should keep it there. Remember that I can only use the gold ones if I make the major league roster, but for now I definitely want that extra power in my bat over the fielding upgrades. This is the final game of spring training and my last chance to show that I belong on this team, and that's not helping. The tough part now is I usually get pinch hit for after about 2 or 3 at-bats, and I really don't want to go hitless to end this game, but thankfully I'm still in for the 5th inning and get aboard with a single. That was my last at-bat of spring training, but if I don't make the majors, something is very wrong, so all I can do is sim to the regular season where we have been optioned. I cannot believe it. That didn't make any sense, so I simmed a week, and thankfully I realized that the CPU just learned how to do service time manipulation. After all that drama, it turns out that I'm getting the call call up to the major leagues. And after talking to my teammates for 1 minute, they're already calling me daddy. Now that I'm finally at the big leagues, I'm gonna get myself up to 85 overall with this new skill set, and I also upgraded all of my equipment. It is finally time for Daddy Longlegs' major league debut, and remember that we are only a week into the season, and that is a big deal because it means that he could possibly become an all-star this season, as his first major league hit is going over the fence for a home run. He dug that out for an absolute moonshot over the fence, so he is already sparking this offense. After this game, he got his first interview, and he warned baseball that Big Daddy's coming. Getting through the minors and making the all-star game is the big goal in this video, but comment below if you want to see more of Daddy Longlegs, because I've had a great time with these Road to the Show videos every time I've made them, and here is a great catch in the outfield. This is only game number 3 at the majors, but we are off to a very good start with our 5th hit, and the best part about it is that our whole offense is on fire right now, as that's hit number 3 on the game. Despite missing the first 6 games of the season, Longlegs has the most home runs and RBIs on the team. We're in the majors in season number 2, and I'm very glad that I played a lot of games last season to grind for that gold skill set, because it has turned us into an absolute monster. After a month with Cincinnati, it feels like we have this challenge in the bag, so I might just simulate and see what happens, because after bringing up Daddy Longlegs, Cincinnati now has one of the most dangerous offenses in the league, and that is another multi-home run game. I cannot believe what I'm seeing as I simulated the month of May, and Daddy Longlegs has not slowed down with 24 home runs and 58 RBIs. I have simulated 90% of these games, but Daddy Longlegs is having the best rookie season in MLB history. Here's another dinger, and I would love to make another video where I play through his whole career on a very young, talented Reds team. We're a week away from the All-Star break, and we are leading all right fielders, and that cast includes some very talented players like Corbin Carroll and Ronald Acuna. There's no way that this stat line keeps us out of the All-Star game, but we're gonna play the last game of the first half against the Phillies, where we start by grounding into a double play. We are getting shut out by Zach Wheeler so far, but at least we got a hit to end the All-Star break. But now we're gonna see if we accomplish the goal we set out to achieve in this video, and we absolutely did. With 904,000 votes, Daddy Longlegs is an MLB All-Star. However, as you can see, we are still just 19 years old, so there is a lot more of our career to play out, and there are so many more things for Daddy Longlegs to accomplish. But the fact he's already one of the premier players in the league, playing among the best in the All-Star game, is a great start. I am trying so hard to hit a dinger in this game, but obviously this might be humbling because Big Daddy is not going up against minor leaguers anymore. He has had a rapid ascension to the top of the MLB. This might be it, going the other way, but too far. That was so close, and he's still fighting through the at-bat. And again, his big drawback is the massive strike zone. While the National League did win, Daddy could only pick up 1 single. So even though he made the All-Star game, there's a lot more work to do. And I think his next step might be becoming 90 overall, as that pitch went way off the plate. That was embarrassing, but the game's giving us another dynamic challenge. So we really need to take advantage, but once again, they get us with the slider. We cannot let our historic first half for a rookie be overshadowed by a slump. And the reason I'm bringing that up is it's very common for young guys to let success get to their head. Obviously, we had our fun making the All-Star game, but now it's time to get humble, because first of all, we can't even drink, and we have a chance to send Cincinnati to the playoffs. We're down 3-0 to a Cardinals team that currently holds the 3rd wild card spot, so it's a very good thing Daddy's gonna get us on the board as he delivers his first big play of the second half, but it wasn't enough. If we can't beat a fringe playoff team, we're in trouble, but there's still hope as the second game is tied at 0 apiece. Except as I say that, our team may have scored us, but the Cardinals blew us out of the water. I think it's pretty clear that while Cincinnati has a very bright future, they are more than just one superstar, very tall player away from success. And this pitching rotation and their bullpen really needs to improve if they're gonna get anywhere. That could not be more obvious, as they've lost 4 in a row, and now to save our season, we're going up against a loaded Atlanta team. This squad has been firing on all cylinders, and even though this is great contact, it is not gonna be hit well enough. And I guess the good news for Daddy is it would not have mattered anyways, as we're trailing by 7 runs, but at least he's gonna end this game on a very nice note. Obviously, there's still a lot of time before Longlegs even considers free agency, but if Cincinnati can't start winning, he may want to go to a team that can, like Atlanta, as he goes deep for a 2-run shot against them. There is his first homer out of the All-Star break, followed immediately by a boss challenge, and with a 1-run lead, this is a chance to bury them. Facing Spencer Strider is always a challenge, but here we go. He gets a hold of that fastball going the other way, and it stays fair for his second home run of the game. No doubt he was late on that one, but I'm so glad it stayed fair, because just like they destroyed us last game, we are giving them a taste of their own medicine with another opposite field dribbler. As you guys probably know, he is not a pull hitter, but I am not complaining, because while he could definitely definitely be a little earlier on pitches. I'm never going to complain about numbers that look like this. One more win and we take the series. And it may not seem like much, but winning this game after losing 5 in a row would be a very big deal. Daddy beats it out. However, even with Longlegs using his long legs, we're still down 3-0, and this is hit very weakly into right field, except it keeps carrying, and look at that power. I gotta be honest, I'm completely surprised that one went over the fence, as it even gave us a negative power grade, but I guess he put all of his 7-foot frame into that one and made it work. It is also worth mentioning that more games like this will almost certainly win us the MVP, as this one goes to opposite field again, it gets caught, but we score a runner. That breaks the tie, but Atlanta would take the lead in the 8th inning, so it's up to Longlegs to give us momentum, but he strikes out swinging, which officially loses another series. Unfortunately, we are now down 8.5 games in our division, along with 7.5 in the wild card, and I gotta say, I am pretty surprised by this because I figured that an MVP finalist would certainly be enough to make Cincinnati above 500. The pressure is amping up as we're up against the Phillies, and of course, we are starting out the series with a big-time boss challenge. All we have to do is drive in De La Cruz, but right now, we're faced with 2 outs, but that does not matter. Daddy turns on a pitch even higher than his very big strike zone, and that is going to the freaking moon. That's a very awkward swing that only Big Daddy could get away with, and I'm really glad it did, because honestly, working around this strike zone is already such a chore. Even after that though, Philly won the first game, but Longlegs is now going deep for his 2nd time in 2 games. So we have a 2-run lead, but how about another no doubt moonshot? He's just gonna watch that one go for number 44 on the year. He saw Ohtani on the top of the MVP race, and he took that personally, as even if Cincy does not make the playoffs, that doesn't mean Longlegs can't earn some hardware. In a 3-run game, there's an honorable intentional walk, and after that, we only added to our lead. After falling up short against Atlanta, we finally beat an NL playoff team, and now that we're facing teams like Washington, I'm more confident we can turn our season around. A series win against Chicago can get us back above 500, but maybe even more importantly, we could jump the Cubs in our division to get to 3rd place. For once in his life, Longlegs did not have to carry the team as they scored 6 runs all on their own, so maybe after some difficult growing pains through July, August is our month as Longlegs gets something going with an RBI double. That is a big time series win, but there's still one more game for us to earn the sweep, which we're able to do. This also seems like the best time for us to go on a roll because not long ago we were facing the Atlanta Braves and the Phillies, but now we've got teams like the Rockies, the White Sox, and the Angels. Also, because I started this road to the show in April, Paul Skeens is only 78 overall, and we nearly went yard on him, but regardless, that just means the Pirates are even less of a threat. Without much effort, we're able to bury them, and all of a sudden, we are only 1 game back in our division, and are also in 3rd place for the wild card. That officially puts us in the playoffs, so winning now matters more than ever, but of course, they've got Spider-Man in the outfield, and we got completely shut out. It seems we've completely forgot how to play against good teams, as San Diego leads by 3 in the 6th inning, and we are not making a difference. After a huge winning streak, we could get swept, and even though we're up 2-0 early on in this one, I really do not trust our pitching. We are giving them a ton of cushion with 7 runs on the day, so maybe the best way to overcome poor pitching is to simply score as much as you possibly can, and we got very lucky on this one. We've already broken double-digit runs, but there's no reason for Longlegs to not add another RBI, as every single one is gonna get him closer to that sweet, sweet MVP. Just as our team has been on fire, Daddy Longlegs is also raking and got up to 90 overall, which is what we've been waiting for, and his hard work is also paying off to the award voters, as he is in 1st place for the MVP along with Rookie of the Year and 2nd for the Hank Aaron. Entering September, the division is very much in play, and we should probably go for it because this wild card race is gonna come down to the wire. The tough thing for us though is our schedule is definitely not easy, but at least we're starting off against the Pirates, and once again, Big Daddy strengthens his case for MVP. We have another dynamic challenge, so why not swing for the fences again? As I know Jared Jones is gonna pitch around us, but we have nothing to lose. That almost worked. Another 2-homer game would have been very fun, but we still get the W, and we're able to farm some wins off of the worst team in our division. However, now it's the number 1 playoff team going up against the number 2, and it is very important we show up in this series because we're now tied with Milwaukee for the division. Literally right off the bat, we have a dynamic challenge, and all we have to do is hit a single, but our contact has not been very good. We're flying out a ton. We are 0 for 2, so Arizona still has the lead, but not so fast. Daddy is gonna tie it in 1 swing. That is number 54 on the year as he leads all of baseball, fastball, but it would not stop Arizona from retaking the lead, so we really need to deliver again. This is only one of the very good teams we're playing in September, so we have to deliver, but game 1 obviously did not go our way. During this time, I'm very worried about Milwaukee jumping us and pulling further ahead, but now we're facing San Diego, who has a secret weapon. I forgot about the knuckler. In my time this game cycle, I have not hit this pitch yet, but apparently Daddy Longlegs is built different because he crushed that into right center field. All I can say is better late than never, and I'm so glad we got that out of the way because we really needed that performance against a team that won a series against us a couple weeks ago. We're a game and a half behind Milwaukee, so we need to win this, which we do. And right now, I am marking my calendar because we take them on later in the month. This series could very much decide the division, but we go on a massive win streak. That is certainly going to help us out, as instead of being the underdog in the series, we have a 1-game advantage coming in. Right away, though, I can already tell this is going to be a very close one as we're tied up, but without us doing anything, we are up by 2 runs, and Daddy's going to drive in another one. With that victory, we guarantee the best thing Milwaukee can do is tie us, because doing some very complicated math, there are 2 games left in the series, and we're 2 games up. That makes me feel a lot better about simming the next few games, and you gotta be kidding me. Of course, the worst case scenario happens, and now we are fighting for the division. No matter what happens, we are in the playoffs, but I'm a little concerned how we're gonna do there if we lose to Miami, although Daddy's trying to not let that happen. That is another home run, which should very much secure him the MVP. And on top of that, we are gonna win this game. With 57 home runs, I feel like we've done everything that we can to pad our stats, so I'm gonna leave the division up to a simulation, as it's either gonna be us or Milwaukee, and there it is. Daddy Longlegs has helped thrust this team straight into the playoffs in his rookie season, and it is no surprise given these monster numbers, as every single one of his offensive stats were the best on the team, and he has a lot more coming for the rest of his career. He may not be a pretty face, but the 19-year-old MVP is certainly the new face of baseball, but now he just needs to put the success on his back for a deep playoff run. In the wildcard round, we're going up against the St. Louis Cardinals, who are a very familiar face because they're in our division, but Longlegs and the Reds strike first, and now Daddy's going to left field. That is gone. Get out of here. That was 109 off the bat, and we'll extend our lead 2-0, and that could make all the difference as we're only up by 1 in the 5th inning. However, after we hit into a double play, they tied it up, but that is not going to last long as Longlegs saves the day with a 3-run shot. That was a very clutch play against a 2-strike count as he makes them pay, and thanks to his great performance, the Reds are going to run away with game number 1 as he finishes strong with another double. Performances like that can send us to the World Series, and considering that our rotation looks like this, he might be our best chance to get there. One more victory can send us to the Division Series, and it seems Big Daddy cannot be stopped, driving another home run to opposite field, and the more I watch this guy, the more I'm convinced that he's allergic to pulling anything. Like I said though, I really don't care where the ball goes as long as we're hitting it out of the park, and he continues to do exactly that, and I really don't know what to say because I'm still playing on the same difficulty. I guess more than anything, this shows we have a very special player on our hands, as he may be 90 overall in game, but that's not even including all the boosts that get his stats up even higher, and with hitting in the high 90s, you really can't go wrong. This is the team we've been waiting to see all season long, as it's 8-2, and Daddy nearly had another homer, but just like I've been terrified of, our bullpen gave up a ton of runs, but Longlegs is going to make it not even matter. He finally pulls something, and the result is his 3rd homer of the entire game, and his 5th of the wild card series. I really do not know what to say. I can't help that they're giving us meatballs right down the middle, but nevertheless, it is so obvious we deserve to move on, as Daddy Longlegs ends the series with 5 home runs and 11 RBIs. On top of all that, I really don't know what happened, but we put up 19 runs, which is simply ridiculous. But at the same time, our bullpen conceded 13 in just 4 innings, so I'm a little bit concerned about the next series. Our next opponent are the Atlanta Braves, and we all know that they can play, and even though our offense had a generational run in the wild card, this team is built different, and I'm very concerned about all of their firepower. Game 1 is a huge challenge, going up against Spencer Strider, and I really didn't think we were going to go yard off of him, but apparently I stand corrected. That continues our home run streak as we're averaging 2 dingers per contest, but even with that, we're trailing by 1 run in the 8th inning. This is the biggest moment of the postseason, but Daddy Longlegs reads the fastball beautifully and belts it into left field. I don't know what I ate for breakfast today, but I promise you guys I never hit like this. But the most concerning thing is even with this great performance, Atlanta still takes the W. Right after we scored, they did did the same exact thing. And all I'm gonna say is if Cincinnati wants to keep Daddy on the squad, they better not blow this. If they can't build a team around him, this Daddy might go get some milk and never come back. But in this performance, he was also part of the problem as he went 0 for 5, and Atlanta extends their series lead to 2-0. This is our last chance to get back in this series, and in the 6th inning, it is still anyone's game as we're scoreless, but Daddy finally drives in what could be the first run. He could have gone to second, but instead we watch the run score all the way from first. This season is not over yet, especially after another RBI single, as Cincinnati's pitching finally shows up and we get the W. Now we need 2 wins to pull off a historic upset against a team that won 102 games, and it's very encouraging. We're up by 1 run against Spencer Strider, but maybe the best way to win is take him out of the game. It was only a single, but apparently that actually rattled him because we would go on to win 7-0. Once again, we have woken up at just the right time to force an elimination game 5, and just like we all probably expected, this one's gonna come down to the wire, although we could have had a homer right there. Unfortunately, that could be the difference between winning and losing, but it doesn't mean we're gonna give up as Longlegs drives in a run to make it a 1-run game. And now in the 8th inning, we need to deliver once again, and even though we got our PCI right on the ball, it goes straight to the shortstop. That is a very unfortunate way for us to end our season, as our offense was unable to score another run, and despite our best efforts and nearly coming back, we fall short. On the bright side, I guess it wasn't all for nothing, as Daddy Longlegs had one of the most dominant playoff runs we have ever seen, and on top of that, we have to remember this is still a very young, high-ceiling team with very bright future. Of course, Daddy Longlegs is still under team control, so he is coming back to the Reds once again, but if I were them, I would really consider opening up my wallet sooner rather than later. It looks like we did make a couple moves in free agency though, signing Chris Paddock, Josh Naylor, and Jordan Montgomery, but on top of that, it also looks like we traded one of our best third base prospects and our starting catcher for 2 shortstops, which obviously doesn't make a lot of sense considering that we have Ellie De La Cruz and really no depth at third base. I'm very excited that Chris Paddock is our new ace because I do feel like he can push and complement Hunter Green and Nick Lodolo, and on top of that, I can't really complain about adding Josh Naylor along with Trevor Rogers to our bullpen. Between getting back to the playoffs and defending his MVP, there's a lot on the line for Daddy Longlegs, as his rookie year was ultimately about introducing himself to the league, and now his sophomore season's about building on his success. He's picking up right where he left off, now launching a no-doubter in the 9th inning to clinch an opening day victory, and that 448-foot shot is hopefully his first of many on the year. That is a great way to start a season against a Washington Nationals team that's of course not very good, but the Reds are now facing a bigger challenge with the Tampa Bay Rays. Just a week into the season, Daddy Longlegs already has 3 home runs, but make it number 4 against Tampa, as they have taken the lead, and with the bases loaded, Daddy Longlegs is not done, driving in a 2 RBI double. 7 unanswered runs helps us beat a team that made the ALCS last year, and it's very encouraging that we'd go on to win and sweep this series. Thanks to our big offseason, we're playing like one of the best teams in baseball, but at least in my mind, none of that really matters if we can not win this big revenge series against Atlanta. We were so close to pulling off that huge comeback playoff victory against them, but fell short, and now they're up 3-0, but Daddy Longlegs has a dynamic challenge. He put the team on his back in that series, but cannot do it again, so it is still a 2-run game, but we strike out looking. Daddy Longlegs goes 0 for 4, and we lose the first game, but we're starting out the second with a dynamic challenge, and this one's gonna drop, but it's not going to become a double. Regardless though, Cincinnati was able to score Longlegs, so it's 1-0 as he collects his second hit of the game, which I thought would get runners at the corners, but it turns out they're trying to test the throw to home, and that was a terrible mistake. Not only did we fail miserably, but the Braves take the lead, and just like last year, it seems our bullpen is once again a liability as they give up another 6 runs, but at least Longlegs doubles. Despite our fast start, I think we just got exposed as frauds, because the same team that we spent our offseason budget trying to catch up to has swept us in 3 games. Also, just like last year, it's looking like our division's gonna come down to us, Milwaukee, and the Cardinals, but right now, I'm a little concerned about our chances as we're losing to the bottom feeder Cubs. Right on cue though, we do have a boss challenge that could change everything, as the game is tied and we can drive in the go-ahead run. We really can't afford to lose our momentum in a 4-game series, but we choke, but apparently the game just loves giving us second chances. This opportunity is also even more juicy as the bases are loaded, and that is exactly how you rebound. That is a grand slam. Get out the rye bread and the mustard, grandma, and throw on the Viking helmet. It is grand grand salami time, and suddenly any worry I had about this team are gone. Daddy just put them in their place with a 13-2 victory, and obviously your offense can't always score 13 runs, but I'm looking for a little bit more consistency. We are as hot as it gets with a 6-game win streak going up against a very loaded LA Dodgers team that you know has a lot of superstars, and while they might be more loaded across the board, we have the MVP frontrunner. We are back in front for the NL Central, but have back-to-back very tough series, as we are ending this month on the road against the Dodgers and the Houston Astros. Right now, we are going toe-to-toe with the Dodgers, but we kept this on the ground for an inning-ending double play, so we strand a runner, but the Dodgers would score 11 unanswered. Somehow, someway, they scored all 11 of those runs in one single inning, and I don't know what it is, but I feel like we blow more leads than any team in baseball. As you can see, the same thing happened in this game as they score 4 in the 7th, and in the last game of the series, it looks like they're not even going to need a fancy comeback to beat us. Our offense has shut down immediately after an elite performance against Chicago. As cover your eyes, we just lost 18-0. Despite what our record says, we're really playing like a very fringe playoff team, but just from checking out our stats, I would expect us to be a little bit better considering we have 3 guys over 1000 OPS with a few more above 800, and with those stats, I figured that our pitching would be a lot worse, but Chris Paddock, Hunter Green, and Nick Lodolo have been awesome. However, as we could have guessed, the rest of our rotation is really not good, and our bullpen leaves a lot more to be desired. I am very interested in seeing if we can solve our problems against good teams, and a win against Texas is certainly a pretty good start, but we need to keep winning because as you can see, our next test is coming up against the Dodgers and the Phillies. Coming into these 2 series, we are only 2 games up in our division, so it is essential that we find a way to win, and the game knows just how important this is as they're starting us off with a dynamic challenge. We have a chance to start out very strong, but we can't check swing, so even though we miss out on a boost and we're not having our best game, our offense has really come through. Regardless though, this is the type of game that Cincinnati needs Daddy Longlegs the most, and he comes through with a home run to secure double-digit runs against LA. Just a month ago, this team got the best of us, so if we can win this series, our season might be in better shape than I thought, as Big Daddy drove in an RBI, but they are right on our tails. However, that single helped this team rally, so they're up by 4 runs in the 4th, and just a few innings later, it is 9-11, but Daddy Longlegs sends this one into the sky and into the building. That 3-run shot secures a 15-9 victory, and all I can really ask this team is where was this offense when we needed it most? The Dodgers embarrassed us last month, but we got even and then some, so not only did we finally beat a very good team and gain confidence, we also have a 6-game division lead going into a series against the Brewers. Last year, the division came down to a series against them in the final weeks, but this year has changed so much, as right now they're only a few games above 500 and are fighting for a wild card spot. I was gonna celebrate our victory, but they came out of nowhere, as once again, it seems our bullpen has completely choked, allowing 4 runs in the 8th and a walk-off in the 9th. Now in game 2, we have a boss challenge against Brandon Woodruff, and after his bullpen wasted 2 RBIs, you know Daddy Longlegs is looking for revenge. One of our goals is to get Daddy Longlegs up to 99 overall, and challenges like this are supposed to help, but that was very poor contact, and down a run, he is gonna pop up in foul grounds. We officially lose the series to our division rival, and because we're not completing a lot of challenges, Daddy has been stuck at 91 overall for a while now. Maybe we can do a little bit better against the other playoff team in our division, the St. Louis Cardinals, as here's a double, but it remains a 1-run game after our team couldn't score us. Then after we walked, our team stranded us again, and the Cardinals took the lead, so despite a good performance, we lose game 1. So far, this has been such an up and down season for our team, but Daddy Longlegs just drived in the go-ahead run of game 2, and fortunately, that was just enough to pick up a W. Now we have a chance to redeem our disappointment against Milwaukee with a series victory, but we have a 1-run lead in the 7th, and Daddy is not giving us a chance to add more. Thankfully though, we are able to hold on, but it's starting to feel like Longlegs has some more competition for MVP. June was definitely a down month as he only hit 274, and along with that, I think his 10 RBIs are the lowest yet. Entering July, we still have the best record in the National League and all of baseball, but once again, we are going up against a team that has our number in the Atlanta Braves. They are up 4-0, and Daddy Longlegs has not gotten on base yet, and that will only continue with another deep flyout, but nothing he does will really make a difference since Atlanta is up 9-1. At least to end this one, he has a dynamic challenge opportunity that he's going to complete with an easy double into right field, but in the end, the result is the same. This is really the one team in baseball that it feels like we haven't had any luck against. And part of that is Daddy Longlegs' fault because he stranded 2 runners, but now he's gonna come back with a 2-run shot. That is number 25 on the season, and it feels like his home run volume has decreased a bit this year, but he still found the perfect time to spark our offense. Just like in the playoffs, this is all gonna come down to the final game of the series, and I know it's not nearly as important, but beating this team going into the All-Star break would be huge for our team's confidence. With our bullpen, I do not trust a 2-run 7th inning lead, but I'm gonna have to as we sim forward and win Game 3. Longlegs did just enough to secure the series tie, but instead we win the final game. So we finally get the best of Atlanta, but going into the All-Star break, there's one thing I really want to do. Since I created one of the best power hitters of all time, it would be criminal not to try the home run derby, and we are off to a fantastic start with 2 statement-making mammoth homers. Nolan Gorman has been second in MVP for quite some time, so this is our chance to get revenge, and on top of that, we're trying to show the press that we're the better player. We have already earned bonus time, so we're on a very good pace, hitting another homer, and just as a flex, I'm trying not to use my timeout, and that clearly is not needed. We have about a minute 40 to hit 7 homers and win this thing, so it is a little less guaranteed than I thought, but the bonus time makes me feel a lot better. Now we are just 1 dinger away from tying it. This is hit well into right center, going back, and it is gone. No timeout, no problem. Daddy Longlegs going to the opposite field as we see so often, and it is over. We just stuffed our division rival into a locker, but how about a player on the team that knocked us out of the playoffs? And Ozzy Albies may not be the Braves' superstar player, but he's still hit 19 bombs. This will not be an easy victory, as we have not even earned bonus time yet, so it's time to lock in, and that could be it. Going back into left field, and it's not deep enough. Obviously, it is still a home run, but we need it to go 440 feet, so I'm starting to sweat just a little bit, but that is crushed into left center. That's gonna be it. Right now, it seems we're gonna need bonus time if we want to win this matchup, so we need another 440-foot nuke, and that one's gonna get it done. I'm calling a timeout with a minute to go, so now there's about a minute 30 to get 6 bombs, and there's 1. It is fair to assume that this is a very personal matchup for Daddy Longlegs as he drives this into left center field for 474 feet, as Ozzy is certainly shaking in his boots right now as he's driving it to all fields. And entering bonus time, he just needs 1 more that he's able to get on his first swing. That means he is moving on to the final round, and his opponent will be Corey Seager. Honestly, so much for the finals because he only needs 16 bombs to win, and in his first 2 swings, he already has 2 dingers, including a 472-foot nuke. Long story short, there's no way we're losing this battle as we just got the no doubt animation, as we didn't even need to use a timeout, completely outmanning Corey Seager for the final homer, and Daddy Longlegs becomes the champion of the home run derby. That was fun, but getting back to the real league, our offense has really taken a step forward, of course with Daddy Longlegs playing super well, but also guys like Ryan Jeffers, Josh Naylor, Spencer Steer, and Ellie De La Cruz make a pretty strong offensive core. Looking at our pitching, it seems everybody's playing pretty well up top, except for Chris Paddock, who was our best guy early on in the year, and I don't know what happened, but he has taken a complete tailspin into irrelevancy. I really hope he turns it around because this game still is going to make him our ace, and we have a 5-game division lead, but while he figures it out, it does seem the rest of our team is developing quite nicely, and I'm very excited to see what our future holds. I kind of assumed we had enough of a lead at the break to not have to play more games, but the Cardinals will not go away, so right now we're sitting at a 4-game lead, but Milwaukee's giving us a tough time. However, even though we were trailing by 1 run, we still found a way to win this game, so it's very encouraging to see that even when Longlegs doesn't play his best, we still win games. Despite winning 2 series to come out of the break, that really did not change anything as they are still on our tail, and checking out their roster, it kind of makes sense since they've brought in Alex Bregman, Wilson Contreras, and Carlos Correa. I have no idea why Daddy's dressed like a leprechaun, but at the end of the month, Coach once again gave us double points, which is a chance to improve our overall, which is now up to 92. This could be the motivation we need to break through a very good Seattle rotation and win some more games. And right now, we have a chance to get some runs on the board, which Longlegs is gonna do as this one stays fair going the other way and bounces into the seats. That is a big deal, but in the end, the Mariners take the W, so it feels like we're trying very hard to blow this division lead, and how did the Mariners get Corbin Burns? As a Seattle fan, there is no way they gave up the cash to get him, and now he's trying to take us down, but out of nowhere, our offense came through to save the day. We may have lost the series, but at least we avoid the sweep, so we're doing a pretty good job of holding off St. Louis, but of course, I want to bury them. I really think we've done more than enough to hold them off, as we just hit 90 wins, and while they're still having a very good year in their own right, they are 8.5 games back. I feel like we don't really need to show this series against them, but just for fun, we're gonna show them who's boss, and in this 4-game series, we're gonna win 3 of them. After that, I feel like there's really no way that we don't win this division, so I'm gonna sim the rest of the season as we are still winning. And I know this was a great year, but I never expected 116 wins, except we're not gonna get it. A late losing skid cost us the title of the best team of all time, but we did have the MVP winner and 2 Cy Young finalists, so it's fair to say that even if they don't have the record, this is a team for the ages. This was another 50 home run year for Daddy Longlegs, as he also put up 152 RBIs, along with a league best 348 batting average and 1059 OPS. Of course, he was the star of the show, but Ryan Jeffers, Spencer Steer, and Josh Naylor were all a pretty good supporting cast, and then Ellie De La Cruz and Matt McClain continued developing into the players that we want to see for the future. On the pitching side of things, you really can't complain about 2 Cy Young finalists, but also Andrew Abbott and Jordan Montgomery performed a lot better than expected, which is pretty cool, but I guess it's balanced out by the fact Chris Paddock was kinda disappointing. Also, it is very important to note that our bullpen, especially Trevor Rogers, really turned things around, as in the first half of the year, he was looking like a huge bust, but he became one of the best long relievers in the league. This is the best team in baseball, and they're definitely the World Series favorite, but they're starting the playoffs against a very solid Marlins team that could cause a lot of trouble. Last season in the NLDS, we fell up just short of a historic playoff comeback, so we cannot afford another heartbreak, and in the 4th inning, I'm kinda bracing myself as we're down 1 run. This Marlins team has one of the best rotations in baseball, and they are blanking Daddy Longlegs, which allowed them to pull off the Game 1 upset. Now in Game 2, I really wanted things to be different, but Miami's up 4-0, and we're somehow gonna reach base. And while Game 1 was all about the pitchers, we've already seen so many runs as we make it 5-4. However, approaching the end of the game, it is 7-5, and Longlegs gives us a drive deep into right center field, but it's not far enough. We lost in the NLDS last year, and even with a much better team, history's trying to repeat itself, but we're gonna try not to go down without a fight, and that is a great play at second base. That just saved a run, which could make all the difference, as this blooper will not get down, and for the 2nd year in a row, we have been outed in the NLDS, except this time, we didn't even put up a fight. We just completely wasted a 115 win season, and I guess the good news with that is we're not losing a lot of players, but years like that really don't grow on trees. Even at the ripe old age of 20, Daddy Longlegs could win every single award possible, and it really wouldn't matter if he fails to win a World Series in his career. And unfortunately, it seems our management doesn't really care about getting better, as they didn't sign anyone in free agency and traded Josh Naylor. At least the good news for Longlegs is entering this season, he has unlocked the Diamond skill set, which will get him up to 97 overall. And with that upgrade, on top of perks and equipment, many of his stats in-game are going to be over 100. If our team's not going to do anything to help us improve, Longlegs is going to have to do it himself. And entering his 3rd season, if this team can't win a World Series, he may as well assume he never does. There's no doubt he's going to put his team on his back the whole way, but while that might fly in the regular season, it's not going to beat good teams. Just like last year, I really feel like the Cardinals are going to give us a hard time, as we're currently playing for the division lead, and even after a 1st inning double from Longlegs, they're up 2-0. Fortunately though, our team actually did something, so we have a chance to go up on top in the 8th, and maybe this can help as we sim forward, and sure enough, we pick up the dub. This is a very important early series, because if we lose it, they're on top of the division, and thankfully we hold them off, as we end the first month of play with a 3-game lead in the Central. Even though his home run numbers are a little bit lower than we usually see at this point, Daddy Longlegs is on pace for his 3rd MVP in a row, and he's actually getting some decent help from his team. It is not easy to bounce back after losing 2 straight NLDS games in heartbreaking fashion, so this is very encouraging, as we have an 8-game lead over the Cardinals in our division, and we're looking for a huge sweep. What I didn't realize though is they have Tariq Skubal on their team, so it seems that unlike us, they actually did something to improve their squad, but it may not matter in the end because their outfielder just did a barrel roll like this is Star Fox, and we earned an easy triple. I just realized it's been a while since Longlegs hit a home run on screen, but he's hitting for high average, and his 2 RBIs just helped us sweep the Cardinals. After the way this offseason went, I had my my concerns about this team, but they have proven me wrong with a 61-29 record. But before we get to the All-Star break, I think it's time for some revenge. This is a good Miami team, but I never expected them to beat us. And if we see them in the playoffs again this year, I really don't want them to think they can do it again, and Daddy Longlegs is really destroying their confidence. It's kind of bizarre that we haven't seen him hit a homer in a while, but trust me, he is getting them, because at the break, he is on pace for his best season ever and has 10 more home runs than the next best MVP candidate. To no one's surprise, he is probably going to win his third MVP in a row and send the Reds back to the playoffs. But of course, none of that matters if we cannot get past the NLDS once again. This was another 50-plus home run year for Daddy Longlegs, but he also set a career high in RBIs and OPS, so he continues to earn more hardware, but he still has not won a ring. However, if we want to end our curse in the NLDS, we have to get revenge against a very good team that beat us 2 seasons ago in the Atlanta Braves. And even though we're much more evenly matched this time, we're gonna have to prove it. Game 1 is very close in the 5th inning, but Daddy just stranded 2 runners, which was a very small mistake that may have cost us this game. If we're gonna get through this round, the 3-time MVP needs to step it up, and so far in the playoffs, he does not have a single hit yet, but of course he gets it done when we're up 4-1. We have bounced back from that first series with vengeance, and Daddy Longlegs is not done delivering with another huge RBI double, and not long after that, we see that we have scored 12 runs as the bases are loaded for Longlegs, who is gonna do his thing with a grand slam. I mentioned it had been a long time since we saw him hit a home run on camera, and there it is, as I guarantee we just scared the crap out of Atlanta. It is no coincidence that our offense woke up the second Longlegs got going, as here's a sacrifice fly, and as you can see, our team would add on 2 more runs right after that. Now we have a dynamic challenge, but we're gonna walk, so while we don't get the boost, our team scores 2 more runs. That was worth it, at least until the Braves came back and won, so we are once again facing elimination in the NLDS game, but despite another underwhelming performance from Daddy Longlegs, we do survive. That means just like 2 years ago, this is gonna come down to game number 5, and based on what happened last time, I'm pretty nervous, but we scored 4 runs. After 2 seasons of absolute choke jobs, we are finally moving past the NLDS and into the NLCS. This was not Daddy Longlegs' best series, but in the end, it ultimately does not matter, because despite winning so many awards, this is not personal, and it comes down to our team. We are closer to the World Series than we have ever been before, but before we get there, we have to take on a very good Dodgers team in a potential matchup that I've been anticipating for the past few seasons. I really hope that breaking the curse in the division series gives us the confidence to beat the Dodgers, and so far we're up 1-0, but Daddy Longlegs is a bit late on this one. After an up and down series, it is time for him to be a hero and break us out of what is now a tie ball game, but even though he doubled, his team could not score him. That is disappointing, but maybe he can get it done himself, driving this into right center field, although Outman's gonna track it down, so that prevented a run, but thankfully our team was able to score us and pick up the Game 1 win. There's a good chance his 3-hit performance made all the difference in that one, but now we need even more heroics as we're down by 2. There are runners at the corners with 1 out as Longlegs goes to opposite field. There's a chance. This one is gone. Longlegs goes deep for a very clutch go-ahead home run, and immediately after that, our team rallied behind us as we launch another double into the right center gap, already up by 4 runs in the 7th. That is another win for Cincinnati to make it 2-0 in the series, and after that performance, Longlegs is sitting atop postseason MVP. However, Game 3 looks like it's going to be a different challenge as Ohtani is staring us down, but as you can tell by looking at the score, we were not super scared of him. In our 3 postseason runs with Daddy Longlegs, this is the most our offense has ever stepped up, so this really just goes to show the NLDS was our problem the whole time. We are now just 1 win away from advancing to the World Series for the first time in Longlegs' career, and clearly nobody wants this more than him as he starts the day off with a triple. That would have been awesome, except our team did not score us, and now in the 7th inning, the Dodgers have taken a 4-run lead. A huge sweep is on the line for Cincinnati, but if Longlegs can play his cards right, he could be the tying run, and while he keeps it on the ground, it will score 2 more. Unfortunately for the Reds, that was not enough to secure the victory, so the Dodgers live to play another game, and I'm a bit concerned that our bats have gone cold, although that's not going to matter with Longlegs carrying the team on his back. Hopefully another one of his signature Oppo Taco home runs can wake us up, but instead, LA would tie this game, and Longlegs is not going to pull another rabbit out of a hat. He is our our last chance to break the tie in the 9th inning, but of course he gets intentionally walked. So we're leaving this one in the hands of the sim gods as we're going to the 11th inning. Another chance to do damage, and that's another intentional walk. So it is once again up to the sim gods, and as you can see, the Dodgers are celebrating. There's no way. Our homer was the only run of that entire loss as we drop our second in a row, and it's getting a little sweaty because it was not long ago that we were looking for the sweep, but instead the Dodgers are trying to tie it. I don't know where the offense that we saw the first 3 games went, but we need to get them back real quick because I cannot believe I'm saying this, but the Dodgers just forced game number 7. I am extremely nervous considering all the momentum we gained in those first 3 games is completely gone. And to make things even worse than they already are, Shohei Ohtani's on the mound. All I'm gonna say is if we find a way to blow a 3-0 series lead against an 88-win team in the playoffs, there's no way Daddy Longlegs signs an extension. And right as I say that, they just completely wasted another one of his doubles, not even scoring him, and I know I'm going to the opposite field again. I need to get better at pulling pitches. It is very hard to do damage when they intentionally walk me, but at least we have the lead. So just like last game, we are simulating forward, and this time we are able to hold them off, barely overcoming the most embarrassing moment possible. We are going to the World Series, but I'm hardly celebrating considering that our offense did the bare minimum to get there. And to make things worse, after taking on some stacked teams, we're going up against another one in the Rangers. At least on paper, this team is not nearly as dominant as the Atlanta Braves are, but they're still very threatening, and we cannot take them lightly because Corey Seager is always overpowered, but they also have Kodai Senga. For whatever reason, I can never hit this guy as Texas ties it up. Fortunately though, even though Longlegs went 0 for 4, Cincinnati won the game. After what happened in that series against the Dodgers, I would really like to regain some confidence in this offense, especially considering how much we went through to get here. And while I'm not nearly as satisfied with a 2-0 series lead as I should, I think I have a good reason not to be. In these first 2 games, we have leaned so much on our pitching, along with key RBIs from Daddy Longlegs, as he may not be hitting for a ton of power right now, but that does not matter if he's getting results. However, it is now the 8th inning, and we're in a huge 1-1 tie as Longlegs is facing a boss challenge, and with nobody on, I am swinging for the fences. This is pretty risky considering there's nobody on, but we make the softest contact ever, but I guess it doesn't really matter because they scored 5 runs. Unlike in the Dodgers series, we are unable to start 3-0, but maybe that's a good thing considering how that one went, and early in this one, we have already scored and they're intentionally walking me. While that's an honor, it is also unfortunate since we're down by 2, but now in the 9th, we're apparently tied up at 3 apiece. Now we're in extra innings where the bases are loaded, but we choke a perfect opportunity, and all I can say is we are very lucky that we won this game. That was still a good performance, but I'm beating myself up over that last one, so now we're gonna have to make up for it by helping the Reds win a World Series, but we're facing Kodai Senga. This man's forkball is one of the most annoying pitches in the entire game as Texas just tied the game back up, and even though I finally hit the pitch, Texas wins this 5-3. This is starting to feel very similar to our series against the Dodgers, except Daddy Longlegs just put us up by 2 runs, which would have been awesome except for the fact that they stormed back with a huge rally. Right now, we need our MVP more than ever, except he gets underneath another pitch, but here's a great chance for redemption. Down 1, the bases are loaded, and he finally delivers, clearing them for a huge RBI double into right center field. And that big play is exactly how the Cincinnati Reds won the World Series, as despite having a 3-time MVP, they fell short in the NLDS 2 seasons in a row before getting revenge against one of the teams that beat them, nearly blowing a 3-0 series lead to the Dodgers, and finally beating the Rangers in 6. What a big moment as Daddy Longlegs finally has the ring he's been looking for, but you can bet his career is far from over, as he is still only 21 years old and only 3 years into his rookie contract, so he's not only in line for a massive payday, but he could also break the all-time home run record, and on top of that, make the Hall of Fame. If the Reds want to sign Daddy Longlegs to a second contract, they need to keep improving their team even after a World Series, which is exactly why they brought in Adley Rutschman to be a new centerpiece. And while they did lose a 2-time Cy Young runner-up in Nick Lodolo, it looks like they're going to be in pretty decent shape. I have been pretty critical of some of the Reds' offseason moves, but this one was actually very good as we get Adley. And while I can't call us a super team, he joins us and Elly De La Cruz to make a great big 3. Early in the year, we have a World Series rematch, which is currently deadlocked at 3 runs apiece, although we just hit it at Ryan Mountcastle, which ties the series. LA is looking for revenge, and they're already up 5-0 in the game that decides this series as we get one back. But with the lead that we have, it is going to take a lot more than a single to get back in this one as we hit another. And after losing the World Series, the Dodgers win this series 2-1. Just real quick, I have to correct something because I've been calling that a World Series rematch when it certainly isn't even possible. So despite my mistake, that was an NLCS rematch, and now we're actually playing the World Series rematch. Right now, we're winning the first game, but I'm a bit concerned about Daddy Longlegs because early on in this season, he is not hitting for a lot of power and is only batting .250. He may not be playing at an MVP level, but he's doing everything he can, which is helping his team win games. So I think all we can do is just trust that eventually he's going to start hitting for extra bases again. At some point or another, every single player in the league hits a slump, but you have to still be able to capitalize in the big spots, which is what he's going to do here. So the RBIs keep coming, and we're up 2 runs. It would be amazing to keep this thing going by hitting a double, but this one stays on the ground. And I thought that wasn't going to hurt us, but now Texas has tied the game as Longlegs drives this one into the right center gap, waiting for it to drop as it does for another double. That was a big play, but it doesn't matter if we cannot win this game, and thankfully we're able to do exactly that. A 2-double performance is just enough to get this done. So once again, we have a chance to dominate this team, and Daddy Longlegs picked a perfect time for his first bomb of the year. That could not have come at a better time as we're now down just 2 runs. So even if we don't win this game, maybe it's a step in the right direction, especially as he hits another one. He was in a slump to start the year, but he is certainly making up for lost time with another bomb, and he'll throw on the Viking helmet once again. Even with his big performance though, Texas was even better, so we do not earn the sweep, but at the very least, we're going into next series with some more confidence. That series is going to be against the Colorado Rockies, who are certainly no match for our elite team, as we would sweep them along with the New York Mets for 7 in a row. It's still very early in the year, but this division has been completely flipped on its head with the Pirates and the Cubs being above the Cardinals and the Brewers. And while the team rankings say that should change before the end of the year, I am going to give the Pirates everything I got. Aside from a very talented young pitching rotation, it seems like this team doesn't have very much to offer, but going down the list, they could be a dark horse later in the year as some of that young talent starts to develop. Just like in real life, Paul Skeens has developed into one of the best pitchers in baseball as we have no runs on the board, but all it took was a Daddy Longlegs single to change that, and now another one will score a run. Why not go for 2? I really thought Paul was going to put on a clinic, but that game changed so fast, and even though they're in second place, the Pirates did not stand a chance against us. In just one season, one of the more competitive divisions in baseball has become a laughingstock, as the Cardinals also used to be a threat, and even though they still have a pretty good roster, they have a losing record. Obviously, it is still early in the season, so they could turn things around, because so far in this one, they have held us to no runs, and Daddy Longlegs is not going to change that. After that, I was expecting to see a loss, but we rallied with 4 runs. So unlike the past, it seems there is no competition in our division as we earn a series sweep. Alongside Cincinnati, the Miami Marlins are another team that have very much improved since year number 1, adding great players like Bo Bichette and Kyle Tucker. And considering they beat us in the playoffs 2 seasons ago, they might be a major threat. Even though we did redeem ourselves with a World Series win, I cannot deny that this is still a very personal series, as Daddy Longlegs makes it a 2-score game in the 7th. But as you can see, they did tie it up, so we're trying to answer with a deep drive that is not deep enough. However, even though we came up short, our offense pulled its weight, and it really feels like that has been the difference with this team versus other 110 plus win squads that we've had. As in the past, Daddy Longlegs was kind of depended on to lead this offense no matter what, but now there's a lot of other guys like Matt McClain, Ellie De La Cruz, Ryan Jeffers, and even Emmanuel Rodriguez. However, we cannot say good things about this team without acknowledging how good this pitching rotation has been, even without Nick Lodolo, as the guy that we replaced him with, Jose Urquidy, has been nothing short of phenomenal. I really think that this season confirms that Cincinnati has built a very good team around Daddy Longlegs, who's in line for another MVP, which would be his 4th in a row, so we might need to start talking about signing an extension with Cincinnati. We complete a sweep against the Miami Marlins before winning another one against St. Louis, and at the end of June, we have a 13.5 game lead, so I feel like we don't need to show much more of this season. Not much would change at the All-Star break, as we still have a 26 game lead, and we're on pace to be the best team in history of baseball, but the Atlanta Braves are are only 2 games behind us. This is truly our #1 threat, as we've seen this team quite a bit through Daddy Longlegs' career, and it seems they've only grown stronger, and look who they have in their rotation. Nick Lodolo signs a massive deal with our biggest division rival right after we win the World Series, and he's trying to help them get revenge. Just as expected, Cincinnati and Atlanta have dominated All-Star voting representation, so I'm really expecting nothing more than to see them in the playoffs and see once and for all who the better team is. I've been very impressed with how our offense outside of Daddy Longlegs has performed this season, as this is really the first time we have 4 guys above 900 OPS at this point. But of course, I'm concerned about Atlanta, and looking at their numbers, they are even better. We've had this team's number the past couple seasons, but they have very quietly put together a team that is on par, if not better than our own. But before we can even get to the playoffs, we have to face them twice in September. Just from looking at their lineup versus ours, you can really tell just how scary their squad is. And even though this is a regular season series, I think both squads know this has playoff implications. Of course, they have another one of our former pitchers in Jordan Montgomery, who's pitching a gem, as Atlanta has a 5-1 lead and is trying really hard to destroy our confidence. To be fair, this game doesn't count for much because Dylan Lesko made his MLB debut, but nonetheless, we cannot let losing to them become a habit. Apparently, the game also knows this is important, as we're starting the next game with a boss challenge against Spencer Strider, and I cannot express how significant a great start would be. We have a chance to rattle their ace pitcher early on, who leaves a slider right over the plate and is gonna make our job very easy. That is number 51 on the season for Daddy Longlegs, who gives us the early lead, and it had been a while since we saw a home run in game, but here is another one to go back to back. This will be our X factor for the entire rest of the series and into the playoffs if we face Atlanta, as obviously no disrespect to Ronald Acuna Jr., but he's not on the same level as the best player in baseball. Those 2 dingers surge us to a dominant victory over the Braves, so the third game of this series will decide the winner, and it's gonna be us. There's a very good chance we'll see them again in the playoffs, but winning that series to start the month strong is a big deal, as we finish with an MLB record 123 wins. This was 43 wins above the next best team in the division, as the Pirates actually make the playoffs with a losing record, but even more notably, it was 12 games above the Atlanta Braves, who won 111. No one was really even close to these 2 teams, and I'm sure they'll meet up again in the NLCS, but in the American League, there's a great chance we see the Minnesota Twins in the World Series, as they won 108 games. Of course, to nobody's surprise, Daddy Longlegs has won the MVP for a 4th season in a row, putting up career highs in home runs, average, and OPS, while also taking home his 3rd Hank Aaron in a row, another Silver Slugger, and another batting title. He is the best player in baseball, but of course you don't win 123 games with offense alone, and our pitching rotation became the best in the entire league, with Chris Paddock winning the Cy Young with Jose Urquidy right behind him. Unless we choke in the playoffs over the next couple seasons, or our front office destroys the team that we've already built, I really can't see Daddy Longlegs leaving this team, as we're looking to defend our World Series title, starting with the series against the Arizona Diamondbacks. Overall, they're a pretty talented team, maintaining their core of Corbin Carroll, Geraldo Perdomo, and Gabriel Moreno, but they also have some new additions that make them dangerous, like Dylan Cease, Cabrian Hayes, and it looks like a closer they drafted named Phillip Lim. However, I'm not too nervous, as we won 123 games for a reason, and we're already leading 1-0 as Daddy Longlegs gets going with a huge double into the gap. I really thought we were on our way to a huge victory, but they tied it up, and now Longlegs flies out at the track, and to my surprise, Arizona took the lead. It is also the 8th inning, so we're running out of chances, and that was a brutal strikeout that leads to a Diamondbacks win. This is not a good start for the best team in baseball history, and now in Game 2, we are already trailing by a run. Fast forward to the 6th inning, and Dylan Cease has not been making things easy for us, as we still trail by 1, so Arizona's 1 win away from a huge upset. It is now or never for Big Daddy in Cincinnati, as he makes good contact, but it's caught, and while he has gotten on base, it's not the same impact we're used to him having. As a result, Arizona has a 1-run lead, and for whatever reason, our power has completely disappeared as we fly out again, but lucky for us, our team was able to keep this alive, winning their first game of the series. Now we just need 2 more of those, but Daddy is batting under 200 in the series, although he killed their pitcher, so I'm glad he got on base, because my priority is to get him out of this slump, because if we don't, and we get past Arizona, Atlanta will destroy destroy us. However, that massive double could be the start of the turnaround as we're up 3-0, and in the end, we secured another victory to tie the series at 2 wins apiece. Given how good our team was this year, I never expected the playoffs to start with a winner-takes-all Game 5, but even though Arizona caught us sleeping in the first couple games, we have stormed back with vengeance, and we're up big with everything on the line. A 2-double performance from Daddy Longlegs helps us win our 3rd game in a row, officially coming from behind to beat the Arizona Diamondbacks and move on to the next round. That was way too close for comfort, but it looks like we're not playing Atlanta at all, as they were beat by a far inferior Dodgers team, and MLB The Show once again ruins a perfect storyline opportunity. To be fair, a rematch of last year's NLCS is still pretty cool, but I was expecting Atlanta, so I'm definitely disappointed, but we're down 1 run. Longlegs nearly had a 3-run shot in the first, but now he pops up behind the plate, so he could take some blame if we lose, but thankfully that did not happen as we score a run in the 8th. Despite winning the first game, the Dodgers are up 6-0 in the second, and getting shut out by Yamamoto is pretty embarrassing. We could once again be in for a very long series, as now we're facing Ohtani on the mound, and even though he's regressed quite a bit due to old age, he is still a threat. We have a boss challenge against him, but they intentionally walk us, so I'm not even being given a chance to make an impact, which is kind of unfortunate. Maybe this time can be different, but once again, they are walking us, and even though we're the best player in baseball, I'm a bit surprised by this considering we haven't played that well lately. Either way, it doesn't really matter because we still won the game by a run, but even then, we keep going back and forth as the Dodgers have a 2-run lead, and this double is not gonna help change that. Once again, we have a series tie, and it's now very important that we win Game 5 because if we don't, we're gonna be forced to win 2 in a row. However, that might be easier said than done, as it's only the 3rd inning, but each side has already scored 3 runs apiece. Then in the 6th, LA would add another, as there's a runner in scoring position for Daddy Longlegs. These are the plays that legendary players make, and given our underperformance in the postseason, we really need this, and Daddy delivers the tying run. That very big play would spark our offense as we have a 4-run lead, but with the way this game's gone, I'm not surprised LA would get 2 back. We have a chance to put the nail in the coffin, but they intentionally walk us again, and while that might have seemed like the right move, it made no difference in the end. With another victory, we can eliminate the Dodgers for the 2nd straight year, and going the other way, Daddy Longlegs has a 1st inning home run. That is his first of the entire playoffs, but it couldn't have come at a better time, as our offense broke through Bobby Miller early on and punched their ticket to defend their World Series title. Even though I was hoping we'd face the Braves, that didn't end up happening, but we are facing the other 100+ win team in the Twins. Checking out their roster, they do have a very talented team, of course led by Royce Lewis, but they also added Luis Robert Jr. However, checking out the rest of their rotation, I think this is a very winnable series. Winning his 2nd World Series would be a huge monument for Daddy Longlegs, so without a doubt, he wants this, and he's going deep to start things out. That was obliterated for his 2nd home run of the postseason, and considering that was right down the middle, I would have been pretty disappointed with any other result. To my surprise though, that would be the only run we would score all game as we go to extra innings, but simulating ahead, it looks like we won. I would not have been happy if our team wasted a great day from our best player, as we just won 3 games in a row, and as we expected, their rotation is not good enough to compete with this offense. We could be well on our way to securing a World Series sweep, as this is launched into right field, and Daddy Longlegs makes a statement in what could be the last game of the season. He has made his case loud and clear for World Series MVP, and I know it's still very early in his career, but I think he's reached a point where he's entered the GOAT discussion as he goes yard once again. In the 8th inning, this one is completely out of hand as it's an 11-point game, but as long as the game continues, I am still trying to bury this team, collecting another single. Just 1 inning later, it is a 13-run game, and right now, my goal is to make it 20, but we're not able to sneak that past Josh Naylor, so we fail to score 20 runs, but the damage was already done long before that as we win our 2nd World Series title with absolute dominance, sweeping the best team the AL could throw at us and cementing ourselves as a dynasty. Getting World Series number 2 may be a very big deal for Daddy Longlegs, but the future is still very much in question because right now he is only 2 seasons away from free agency. Because our goal is to make Daddy Longlegs the best MLB player of all time, it would not be in his interest to sign a long-term deal really with any team, as we have no control over the players this team brings in, so we definitely don't want to get locked down somewhere there where the roster might fall apart. However, in the offseason, we did make a huge move going out and signing James Outman from the Dodgers, who is playing very well through the first few games of this season. And I guess our front office really wanted to tear the Dodgers apart because they also signed Tyler Glasnow. Considering these quality new additions, we've put ourselves in a great position to three-peat, and to start this year, we are looking dangerous. In addition to winning a World Series, Daddy Longlegs is also going for his 5th MVP, which on its own is already an insane accomplishment, especially when you consider that he's only 23 years old. This game against the Phillies has been ridiculous, as we're now tied at 12 apiece in the 11th inning, and shortly after Longlegs singled, we would win it. I really think this year's team might be even better than last year's, and we have a chance to prove ourselves even more going up against a team we just beat in the World Series 2 seasons ago, and Daddy Longlegs starts out with a home run. That would give us an early lead, and while Texas did keep it close, Daddy Longlegs is gonna go yard for his 2nd of the game, which ended up making all the difference in the end. Just like each of the past 2 years, we have gotten off to a very hot start, taking on every team standing in our way, but that also leads us right into a huge series against the Dodgers, who now have Yordan Alvarez on their side. There is no question they're looking for revenge, not just for us winning the NLCS, but also for taking James Outman, who so far is enjoying a very nice season. In the past couple years, the Dodgers and the Braves have really emerged as our biggest threats in the National League, but right now we're destroying LA. So at the rate things are going, I feel like we have a very easy path back to the World Series as Longlegs is on fire. Let me remind you, they're the team we beat to make it to the World Series, so the fact that we just swept them tells you everything you need to know about how good this team is. At the rate things are going, this might be another very quick regular season just because of how much we're winning, as at the end of June, we are 22 games above the 2nd place team in the NL Central. The team behind us are the St. Louis Cardinals, who have a very good roster in their own right, but not as good as ours. And to end the month, we are trying to bury them, which Longlegs is going to do with a deep bomb into left center field. Not even halfway through the year, he has 36 on the season, so just as we've done through Daddy's entire career, we are showing them that we are their daddy as we completely embarrass them. Kinda to my surprise, our agent is asking if we want to get traded out of Cincinnati, and I know she's just doing her job, but there's really no reason to leave. We are playing on what is by far the best team in all of baseball, as we have 82 wins, and while I'm certainly open to the idea of going somewhere else after our rookie deal, I really don't see any reason to leave Cincinnati when they're playing as well as they are. Just a few seasons ago, my biggest concern was how good of a team they'd be able to build around us, but those concerns have certainly been silenced, and while we've built the best offenses in baseball, our pitching rotation has turned around to become consistently one of the best in the entire league. There is no doubt who the best team in baseball is, as we just destroyed our previous win record with 132 wins, and no other team got above 107. The only way to win this many games is to have a superstar player, and that is exactly what Daddy Longlegs was, but it did not just end with him, as we brought in 2 center fielders in James Outman and Jack Sawinski, and to my surprise, it was actually Sawinski who ended up being the closest thing Daddy Longlegs has had to a number 2. If it wasn't for Longlegs, he might have been the league MVP with 43 bombs and 132 RBIs, but we also have to give a huge shout out to Ryan Jeffers, who also posted over 1,000 OPS and has been a very good player in his 5 years with Cincinnati. Without a doubt, this is the greatest offense we have ever put together, as we had 10 guys with an OPS above 800, and Jared Triolo was very close to making it 11. Then there's our rotation, which is another great key to winning this many games, and of course, ours was electric, as of course Chris Paddock led the way with another Cy Young level season, along with Jose Urquidy and Hunter Green right behind him. This was a very special season, and I have a great feeling that any team that meets us in the playoffs is gonna really regret it. Of course, Daddy Longlegs won his 5th MVP, with his closest competition being his teammate Jack Sawinski, who he still completely blew out of the water. But then going over to Cy Young, we had the winner last year in Chris Paddock, but now Nick Lodolo takes home his first. The former Cincinnati Red is now Atlanta's #1 pitcher, even ahead of Spencer Strider, and it's very well deserved, as he definitely deserved it, even if it robbed Hunter Green of his first ever. Then of course, Daddy Longlegs won the Hank Aaron Award, which will be the 4th of his career, as for whatever reason, he did not win it in his rookie season, even though he has 5 home run champions to his name. Winning those awards is always great, but honestly, it's kinda starting to get stale. So now my goal for Daddy Longlegs is to break the single season home run record and win as many championships as possible. possible. We were winning this game 3-0, but out of nowhere the Cardinals scored 10 unanswered, so it looks like a three-peat might be easier said than done. The greatest team of all time getting a first-round bounce from their division rival would not be fun, and right now the Cardinals are certainly giving us a run for their money as they have a 1-run lead in the 3rd inning. Longlegs doubled, but it does not make a difference since they extend their lead, and if we lose, we're facing elimination as Daddy drives this deep to center field, but it is not far enough. I thought our days of being cursed in the playoffs were behind us, but apparently not, as we are suddenly playing our worst baseball in October. To make things worse, we are facing a Cy Young finalist, and on top of that, they have a 4-0 lead, so I really don't know what I'm gonna do. Right now it is 7-1, and no matter what we do, we can't get any offense on our side. And I can't believe I'm saying this, but we're about to completely waste the best season of all time. I was just praising how dominant this team is, but they completely destroyed us, as this was really the worst possible time to get swept for the first time this season. Even with this loaded roster, our three-peat did not happen, and now we have guys like Hunter Green and Ellie De La Cruz hitting free agency. And considering that Daddy Longlegs also hits free agency next year, their championship window could be closing soon. In talks with his agent, obviously Daddy Longlegs is not happy with that performance, and while his agent clearly wants him out of Cincinnati, there is no way he's gonna leave right now. Simming to the regular season though, maybe we should have taken her up on that, because this team is completely fallen apart as our 3rd best offensive player Ryan Jeffers is gone, along with Hunter Green and Ellie De La Cruz. It is so sad just how fast an elite team can fall apart, as for the first time in several seasons, the NL Central might actually be up for grabs. A huge reason for that is right now Daddy Longlegs isn't even in the MVP race or the Hank Aaron race, and while these numbers certainly are still good for most players, this would be the worst season of his career by far. Honestly, I blame St. Louis for pretty much all of this, as we had a super team in place, but they have completely destroyed our confidence, so it's time to get them back. Daddy Longlegs just tied this game up with one swing into deep left center, and all I can say is, where was this performance in the playoffs? We won that revenge series and are now 7 games up in our division, so we're starting to find our steam again, but after what happened last year, if we're gonna make a run, we need more consistent performances from pretty much the entire rest of our team. Also, we should not have let Hunter Green walk, because suddenly our starting pitching is about as bad as it comes, and after seeing that, I am honestly shocked that we're even winning our division at all. I think the only reason we're in this position is that Daddy Longlegs has hit his way back into MVP conversation, but even with that insane stretch, we're going nowhere in the playoffs if our pitching plays as bad as it did early on. With the pitching staff they have, I cannot believe this team just won 100 games, which was good for 2nd best in baseball, but after starting out cold, at least for his own standards, Daddy Longlegs really turned it on and carried this offense with 150 RBIs, and of course put up another 1100 OPS year. To no one's surprise, this was good for the 6th MVP of his career as he blew Acuna out of the water, and while he already has a Hall of Fame resume with 343 home runs at the age of 24, remember that he is a pending free agent, and how this rotation plays in the playoffs might determine if he stays or goes. I cannot believe we earned another first-round bye in the playoffs, but after what happened last year, I am not overlooking the Arizona Diamondbacks in the NLDS. The Reds know that not only is their 3rd World Series in 4 years on the line, but also keeping their best player ever, and unlike last season, they are not holding back early on with a 7-0 lead. I still do not understand that out of every team in baseball, the Cardinals were the ones that gave us trouble, but so far, this win suggests that was just a fluke. Even with a far worse roster, this is our big chance to right our wrongs, as game number 2 is tied up at 1 apiece and Longlegs has his 2nd hit. Unfortunately though, that would not lead to another run, and we honestly shouldn't have swung at that, but regardless, it really didn't make a difference, because our offense failed to score another run. In that loss, our offense only scored 1 run on 10 hits, but at least in this one, they've already scored 2, and make that 3 with this deep shot to left center. That is Daddy's 2nd nuke of the series to give us a 3-run lead, but to be fair to our pitching, they have also been pretty good throughout this series. However, Longlegs is the real MVP. He just belted his 2nd dinger of the game to put this one on ice, as we bounce back with an 8-run performance. All we need is one more victory to move on, which is what we're gonna get. However, we're playing the Atlanta Braves in the NLCS. We have been looking for a rematch in this series against this team for as long as I can really remember, but of course, they're never gonna make it easy, assembling a very talented team consisting of former Reds in Matt McClain and Jared Jared Triolo. Those guys teamed up with former Red and last year's Cy Young winner Nick Lodolo, and there's no doubt this series was personal before, but it's even more so now as that was a great play. We just barely miss a chance to score the first run of this game, which is still tied in the 9th, but of course after simulating, the Braves are celebrating. There are few things in baseball that hurt more than a 1-0 walk-off defeat, especially because we just barely missed that opportunity with the bases loaded. That means we need to win this game where we have a 1-run lead in the 7th, but after Daddy Longlegs went 0 for 4, the Braves are celebrating again. Unfortunately, our bullpen gave up 6 runs in the 8th inning, so while we have kept these games close, Atlanta's just the better team. Coming into this, we knew that their pitching rotation was the much better unit, and in all 3 of the games that they won, Atlanta had absolutely no problem shutting down our offense. Just like last season, we are on pace to have our season ended by a playoff sweep, and that is exactly what happens as our offense gets going a little bit too late and our pitching fell apart. That is another heartbreaking loss for the Cincinnati Reds that could prove to be franchise altering, considering that their best player is now hitting free agency. Of course, this is the organization that drafted Daddy Longlegs, but he has no obligation to stay, especially when more championships await. But in order for him to even consider staying in Cincinnati, they need to make him a world-breaking offer he cannot refuse. Juan Soto got $765 million, so this better be in the neighborhood of that. But to my surprise, opening up the contract screen, we see the Dodgers are offering us a huge deal. I guess I say I'm surprised, but in reality, I really shouldn't be considering they're the Dodgers. But even then, on average, this is basically nothing compared to what Soto got. Obviously, money isn't everything, but I am shocked that Cincinnati hasn't even made an offer, as we're into February and I still have not signed a contract because looking at it, all of these teams really are not good. I know it's a very unique situation, but given that Daddy Longlegs is the best player of all time, he's allowed to choose his own team, and after what happened the past couple years, he really wants to sign with a contender. On paper, the best team in baseball are the Atlanta Braves, but given that they have Ronald Acuna Jr. and their Daddy Longlegs' biggest rival, we're gonna swerve them and completely change conferences, signing with the Texas Rangers. Daddy Longlegs will be signing a 1-year, $28 million contract, and I know that's basically nothing, but he's already made about $500 million in endorsements from companies like GoDaddy.com, and on top of that, he is only willing to sign 1-year deals in order to make sure he goes to a contender every single year. Obviously, this Rangers team does not compare to the 130-win Cincinnati Reds, but at the break, it looks like he made a pretty good decision, except for when you see that we have the same win total as Cincinnati. We are currently the 2 best teams in baseball, so it would be insane if we saw them in the World Series. But honestly, from looking at their team, I have no idea how we're in the same league as them. They have some solid young talent, but their roster is nowhere near as loaded as this one is, as Daddy Longlegs already has 102 RBIs at the break. But the crazy thing is he's still not on pace for 73 homers. His first year in Texas ended up being the best season that Daddy Longlegs has ever had, as he set a career high in RBIs with 176, along with hitting 65 nukes, which was just 2 under his personal best. His 1176 OPS and 12.6 WAR were his best ever, as he led the Rangers to a 115-win season, which was the best in baseball. I think this Rangers team has a great shot at the World Series with 5 guys who hit over 30 home runs, with 4 of those guys breaking 100 RBIs. However, just like with Cincinnati last season, they're going to have to overcome a less than ideal starting rotation that could prove to be the Achilles heel of the entire team. I am not lying when I say I am very nervous about this playoff run, especially because we're starting off against a very talented Minnesota team with Nolan Jones and Royce Lewis. It is essential that we come out swinging, and that is exactly what Daddy Longlegs is going to do, because after moving to Texas, there is no way he's going to let this team fall short. We're up 2-0, which is certainly not a comfortable lead, but in the end, it was enough to get the first win of the series. At least for now, my nerves about this rotation have calmed down as we move on to the next round, but now I'm very concerned because they have Juan Soto alongside one of the most talented young players in the league, Jared Gutierrez. Those 2 guys alone are enough to scare me, but looking at the rest of the roster, it only gets worse because their rotation is really, really good. The Minnesota series may have been a cakewalk, but this could be a completely different story, although Daddy Longlegs starts out with a first inning dinger. No matter who they have on their roster, we have to remember that we have this guy, but they would go on to score 2 unanswered, so we could really use an insurance run and and here's a huge double for Big Daddy. We got the insurance run, and that was enough to win game 1, but even though I glazed the Tigers' rotation like a Krispy Kreme donut, I guess they're not that good. However, right as I say that, they score 3 unanswered runs against our rotation, and the next time we come up to the plate, we see they have scored 10. I'm gonna take full responsibility for jinxing our team, as the series is now tied at 1 apiece, and now I'm gonna simulate games number 3 and 4, which we split. I do not trust the Rangers to win 2 in a row against the Tigers, so that means we absolutely have to win game 5 as we strike first, so at least we're on top, but it'd be very nice to get some help. Apparently though, that was too much to ask for, because even though we go yard, the Tigers scored 8 unanswered runs, so even though Daddy Longlegs is having a great postseason, it might not even matter. There is not much we can do about Chris Bubic giving up 7 runs, as we are now facing elimination for the 3rd year in a row. There needs to be a scientific study done on Daddy Longlegs offenses choking in the playoffs, because 2 seasons ago, it was the 130-win Cincinnati team, but now a very respectable Texas team also goes down. This man's early career pretty much mimics Tom Brady in the sense that he cannot win a 3rd ring to save his life, and for the past 3 seasons, that has been because of bad pitching, so I'm very tempted to go back to the National League and join our former division rival, the Pirates. That is very tempting, but even though he's not set on Texas long term, another massive move would just take too much of a toll, so he's gonna sign another 1-year deal. At least on paper, this team has not changed very much at all, which can be just as much of a positive as a negative, especially considering they did not do much of anything to address this rotation. Just being honest, it was charity for Daddy to want to come back, but at the break, the division is very competitive. That is very concerning, but make no mistake, Daddy is absolutely doing his thing with 37 home runs and 89 RBIs. And while our offense has been pretty solid on paper, our pitching has been nothing better than average. Obviously, the expectation is to win the World Series, but not even making the playoffs would definitely lose Daddy. And if they're going to keep their star player, they need to finish strong, as they may have been good enough to win their division, but I can't remember the last time a Daddy Longlegs team finished under 100 wins. Maybe this is not a coincidence though, because while Daddy still had a good year, it's his worst in quite a while, finishing with under 60 home runs, under 150 RBIs, and with an OPS of 1,067. After experiencing the best year of his career, this is arguably his worst ever, and given that the rest of our team also took a step back, I'm a bit concerned about the playoffs. If Texas fails to win the World Series again, there's no question they're gonna lose their star player, and just like last year, it is gonna come down to the ALCS against the Tigers. Checking out their roster though, I'm afraid we have our hands full again, because not only do they have Juan Soto and Jared Gutierrez, but they also signed another superstar in Jackson Chourio. Of course, on top of that, I also have to check out their rotation, which is still very good. So once again, we are in for a very rough ride, starting out with this double play. We have fallen up short in the playoffs for far too long, so it is time for Daddy Longlegs to step up, driving in the first run of this game. And while we did also score again, we have to remember a 2-run lead is really nothing against this team. Thankfully though, simming ahead, we did shut them out, but of course, we need some more offense because our rotation is really not that great. And if you remember in last year's series, they would score a ton of runs out of nowhere. Right now though, we're in a pretty good spot, up by 3 runs, and there's no way he makes that throw. Kobe Mayo, are you kidding me? That was ridiculous, but it may not make a difference for the Tigers, considering that we're still leading by 3 runs and shutting them out, as to my surprise, we only gave up 1 hit in that game. I could not believe we have shut them out for 2 games in a row, and we just won the 3rd, so now we have a chance to sweep the very team that embarrassed us last year. I want the sweep so bad, but it seems our offense has kinda stalled out, at least until I sim forward and see we scored 3 unanswered runs. For once, our team steps up in a huge moment without Daddy Longlegs' help and advances to the World Series. It has been 4 seasons since Longlegs went to a World Series, and that was in Cincinnati, so it is time to see who we are taking on, and this is so fitting. Of course, the Atlanta Braves are Daddy Longlegs' biggest rival, but so much of their core is starting to regress, so it seems their championship window is closing very fast, even with former Reds like Matt McClain, and scrolling down the list, Nick Lodolo. This is a big deal for a guy who has played this team quite a bit, but of course, this is the first time it's ever happened in a World Series. To my surprise, the Rangers have come out swinging with a 4-0 lead, even though Daddy only has a single, so they're trying very hard to redeem themselves for last year and keep Daddy Daddy Longlegs long term as he puts the cap on this one. We win this game, but that solo shot actually made the difference as we hold off Atlanta's comeback, but also win the next 2 games. We are now just 1 win away from a very satisfying World Series sweep to earn Daddy Longlegs ring number 3, and he starts out with a bang. That was a massive dinger, and now we're gonna put another run on the board, and just a few innings later, it is 7-2 in the 4th. We have taken care of business throughout the postseason, and you've gotta be kidding me. Daddy Longlegs to opposite field. He is not human and puts this game on ice. As not only him, but this entire team saved their best performance for last, as it is 15-4, and we're gonna add the 16th run. That was perhaps the most dominant World Series winning game I have ever seen in my life, and to add insult to injury, it is a team that hates Daddy Longlegs as much as he hates them. There is no question that he earned World Series MVP, finally getting his 3rd ring, and as long as the Rangers don't ruin their team this offseason, there's a very good chance that Daddy Longlegs will be coming back. At 27 years old, he is on pace to become the fastest player to ever hit 500 home runs, and since he's making a lot less money signing 1-year deals, every single team in the league should desperately want him. I am scrolling through looking for the best team in baseball, and as you can see, the Rangers have dropped down to 6th place, so while they may be the defending champs, there's no chance they win the Daddy Longlegs sweepstakes again, and instead we are going back to the National League Central, not with the Reds, but with the Pittsburgh Pirates. Daddy Longlegs continues to do his best Kevin Durant impression, leaving the Texas Rangers after 2 years to once again chase a ring. This time he's chosen a very good team that I feel like can go all the way, especially with a rotation that looks like this, as unlike the Cincinnati Reds, they actually know how to retain their players, locking up Paul Skeens long term, and along with that, while their 5th starter is 82 overall, he has A potential and could get even better. This is the most talented team we've been on since the 130-win Reds, but we're not really playing like it, as even though we're 61-37, that is only good for 3rd place in a very competitive NL Central. Even though our offense could be playing better, make no mistake, that does not apply to Daddy Longlegs, who may be having his best season ever, as he's on pace for over 70 home runs and already has 120 RBIs. Also, to my surprise, this rotation has not been very good, but as you can see, everybody is on a hot streak, so we could be seeing a much better second half. Thankfully, that is exactly what happened, as our division still is really good, but we won 108 games, and there's no question that would not have been possible without Daddy Longlegs, who broke the MLB single-season home run record with 75. That is even more than a roided-up 2001 Barry Bonds, as he put up a 1,222 OPS, and we've seen a lot of very good seasons for him, but it's clear that he is entering the prime of his career. However, while this also wasn't the best offense he's ever been on, guys like Riley Green and Termar Johnson were great supporting characters, and it's clear this Pirates team got here by drafting very well, as they have a lot of young talent that looks to get even better. As far as our starting rotation goes, Paul Skeens was brilliant, winning the Cy Young, and it also seems the rest of our unit rallied around him and improved as the year went on. I have no doubt this Pirates team can make a run at the World Series, but look who we're playing. We are not only playing against Daddy Longlegs' former team, but also against a division rival, and as you can probably imagine, they are not happy that their best player left town and won a ring without them. When we signed with the Pirates, we knew we would have to face Cincinnati eventually, but I did not expect it to be in our first playoff series, and even though he starts off with a double, they're up 3-0, but not for long, as he launches this into left field. There's no question that is every Reds fan's worst nightmare coming to life, but at least they still have the lead, as Daddy Longlegs goes high for this one, sending it to the opposite field, and that is another home run. It is very clear that this is personal, as Pittsburgh takes the lead and Longlegs extends it, as he was the Pirates' MVP in this Game 1 victory. That was a 2-home run, 2-double performance, so we're moving on to the next round, and this Colorado Rockies team is the last obstacle standing in our way of making it to the World Series. Just being honest, they're a talented young team, but they are no match for the Pirates, as we're trying to show them and everybody else that we are a force to be reckoned with. As you can tell by the score in the 7th, they really never had a chance, but we're gonna rub some more salt on the wound and win this game by 10 runs. I think it goes without saying that we really don't need to play the rest of this series, as we are moving on to the World Series to take on the Twins or the Tigers, and it's the Twins. It would have been really cool to see this Tigers team again, considering they were our biggest rival in the American League, but for whatever reason, they lost to a Minnesota roster that is far less talented. However, maybe I shouldn't have insulted them them because they're leading 3-0 at least until Daddy Longlegs delivers a deep drive into right field. It really feels like he's come up in the clutch anytime we've needed a big play, but now we need him to get another one because they extended their lead. He drives in one, and we would tie the game going into the 9th inning as we have a major boss challenge. This is his chance to once again be a hero in game number 1 of the World Series, and there's no question we're swinging for the fences. We just fouled off a fastball down the middle, so we're now facing a 2-2 count, but we continue to grind out this at bat and unfortunately hit into a double play which they throw over the head of the second baseman. We just got bailed out on a wild throw which leads to us winning game number 1, and that really could not have been possible without Daddy Longlegs getting us back in it. I think the entire world knows that Pittsburgh is the better team, so Minnesota might have just blown their best chance to win, as they are now facing elimination and Longlegs gets his team on the board. Unfortunately for the Twins, it seems that was the beginning of the end as they trail by 5 runs. So the Pittsburgh Pirates have won the World Series and Daddy Longlegs wins his 2nd ring in a row with 2 teams. I think it's very fair to assume Daddy comes back, as the lethal combination of young talent and seasoned veterans make this probably the most talented team he's ever been on. Looking at all the teams, they are still the best option for us, so we're signing with them again. And from the look of it, it seems this team has only gotten better as they brought in Walker Jenkins, who for some reason is currently in AAA, and more than likely that is because he's at the same position as we are. I think that is actually confirmed by the fact that Riley Green is in AA at 93 overall, and all I can say is they better bring these guys up because we're gonna need them. Despite not calling up either player until September, we won 103 games, which was good for the best in the entire league. And after having his best home run season ever, Daddy Longlegs only hit 64, but he did set a new career high for RBIs, along with OPS, as he had a 463 on-base percentage. It is good he played that well because it seems the rest of our offense fell off just a little bit, and maybe that has something to do with Walker Jenkins and Riley Green only playing for a month of the year. This was another solid year for our pitching rotation, although Paul Skeens did kind of fall off after winning the Cy Young last year, but where he fell off, other players got even better. It's crazy to think we could have won more than 103 games if MLB The Show hadn't kept Green and Jenkins in the minors, but now that we have them back, I am not worried about surging straight through the playoffs and into the World Series. Daddy Longlegs has a chance to win his 3rd ring in a row, but he has to face a team that he's very familiar with in the Detroit Tigers. For the most part, they have kept their core together, and as a result, they have been competitive for quite a while, but Daddy Longlegs is trying to put us up 3-0 in the series. The Pirates offense surged after that to get this big win, so they are now just 1 win away from a repeat. This would also be ring number 5 for Daddy Longlegs, including his 3rd in a row with 2 different teams. Simming ahead, even though he did not have his best game, the Pirates are celebrating as they complete a 4-game World Series sweep against the Detroit Tigers, who are one of the best teams in baseball, but clearly not good enough to take down this dynasty. At least until they lose, I think Daddy Longlegs has found a home with the Pirates, and even though they lost Riley Green and sent Walker Jenkins back down to AAA, it seems this team is only getting better. Sure enough, that was the right assessment as we won 110 games this season, and as you can see, this was even with Daddy Longlegs having a bit of a down year for his standards, only hitting 63 bombs. I don't know how any team in baseball can survive with their best team only hitting 63 home runs and 157 RBIs, but regardless, it seems the rest of the team came through. The Pirates are far and away the best team in baseball as they sweep Cincinnati, and now in the championship series, they're going up against a Nationals team that has quietly become one of the premier threats in baseball. They were our closest competition in the league this year, but as you can see, they still are not ready for us. So we move on to the World Series, where we are looking to three-peat against the Seattle Mariners. Right now, we are leading the series 3-2 as they intentionally walk us, and honestly, I'm kind of surprised more teams don't do that, considering he's won the MVP 11 seasons in a row. If I were an opposing manager, I would not let this guy get a single at-bat, because he's gonna do stuff like this, as the Mariners watch their 4-0 lead completely disappear. They intentionally walked us again, but it makes no difference as the Pirates win this series in 6 games, securing their 3rd World Series win in a row, along with Daddy Longlegs' 6th ring between 3 teams. Like I said, for now, there's no reason to leave the Pittsburgh Pirates as they are ranked 2nd in the league, but I guarantee that with the addition of Daddy Longlegs, they bump up to 1st. This was another 100+ win season for the Pirates, who are showing showing no signs of slowing down, and neither is Daddy Longlegs, who put up another 62 home run season and is now at 731. It is almost guaranteed that next season he will break Barry Bonds' record, but for now we are fully focused on winning World Series number 7. Once again, we are up against the Colorado Rockies in the NLCS, and to be fair, they are much better than they were last year, as they won 102 games in the regular season and have put up a fight in the playoffs. However, Daddy Longlegs did just hit a nuke to put us on top 2-1, but to my surprise, Colorado came back with 3 unanswered. If any team is going to end the Pirates' historic run, it could be them, but Longlegs goes to opposite field, and that scales the wall. Even though we tied the game, the Rockies went on to win it, so just a year after we destroyed them, they force a Game 7. This could finally be the year the Pirates do not win the World Series, as Colorado has sent a message this is going to be a very close game, and in the 6th inning, they have pulled ahead with a 2-run lead. Not only is this the end of the Pirates' World Series streak, but it could be the end of their dynasty, as Daddy Longlegs has become very known for jumping ship the moment his team doesn't win the big game. Looking at our options, the best team in baseball is now the Toronto Blue Jays, and last year they won 109 games, which was the best in baseball, so even though it was a tough decision, Daddy Longlegs is moving back to the American League. Our first season in Toronto was a resounding success as we won 107 games, and on top of that, Daddy Longlegs put together a 70 home run season to officially pass Barry Bonds with 801 homers. Keep in mind, he did all of this by the time he was 31 years old, and I think he might still have about 5 years left to play, so even though he has already reached GOAT status, there is still so much more to get done. His next accomplishment is to win 7 World Series, reaching Tom Brady status, and against Seattle, they sweat out a series victory. So after not making it last year, Longlegs is back in the big game, and now we have a chance to put away the Padres in 5 games as we're already leading 8-0 and make that 9. In our first series in Toronto, we are going to win the World Series in dominant fashion, as that is now 7 World Series with 4 different teams. He is reaching Tyreek Hill status, if you know what I mean. Our title defense series with the Blue Jays was even more of a success as we won 108 games, and of course, Big Daddy is rapidly approaching 1,000 homers. The Jays would have no problem repeating, and as long as they're still the best team in baseball, we're gonna keep signing back with them. After another three-peat, Daddy Longlegs not only has a chance to win his 10th World Series ever, but also a chance to four-peat for the first time in his career, and Toronto is showing no signs of slowing down after another 106 win season. It's also been a while since I've shown every award that Daddy Longlegs has won, so why not show it now, as he is now 34 years old, but just put up one of the best seasons of his career. If he wins number 10, I think it's time to hang up the cleats, because he's already been in the league for 15 years, and I think he needs new hobbies. It is also worth noting, Toronto has won the World Series every single season Daddy Longlegs has been here, and their dominance continues, as they already have a 7-0 lead over the Mets, and Daddy Longlegs is going to make it 8 with another big play. Obviously, he still has plenty left in the tank, but 35 is a solid year for retirement, and there's a good chance he can sleep well for the rest of his life, knowing that his records are never going to be broken as he goes deep for the 2nd time today. A 2-home run World Series winning performance is exactly the note to go out on, as I created a giant player in MLB The Show and played his entire career, which took way too long, but ended up being one of the more fun videos I have ever done. If you somehow made it through this entire full movie, you obviously did so for a reason, so please subscribe if you have not done so already, as it really helps out the channel, especially right now when we're in the middle of the MLB offseason, and your support helps me make better content. Once again, thank you so much for making it all the way to the end of the story of Daddy Longlegs, and if you want to watch more of my content, click right here to do that.